Assalamualaikum and good morning. Yang berbahagia Datuk Dr. Ansari Ahmad, Founder President of Asia A University, Dr. Sri Kumar Sivakumaran, Chairman of Asia Centre for Tourism, Encik Uzaidi Udanis, President of Malaysia Tourism Council MTC, Dr. Razif Jamaluddin, President Tourism Educators Association Malaysia, ladies and gentlemen. It is with great pleasure that we welcome all of you to Asia University, and Alhamdulillah, we thank the Almighty for giving us the opportunity to gather here in this event on New Tourism Strategies and Tourism Recovery Recognition Award. For everyone's information, today's event is organized by Asia Centre for Tourism in collaboration with Asia University as a platform to share knowledge in providing new tools to meet new demands and strategies for the tourism industry. Without any further delay, I would like to invite the founder president of Asia University, Yang Berbahagia Professor Datuk Dr. Ansari Ahmad, to deliver his opening remarks. Please welcome Yang Berbahagia Datuk.
Thank you, Riza. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and a very good morning to all. First and foremost, welcome to Asia University. I think for some of you, probably it's the first time you are here. So welcome to Subang Jaya and welcome to our campus. Yang berusaha Encik Uzaidi Udanis, I must say what you are first. Senior Fellow, Asia Centre for Tourism, which is based here in what you call in Speed and Asia University. President, of course, of Tourism, what we call Council, President of what we call Asia Tourism Association, as well as President of Malaysia Inbound Travel Association. I hope I got it all. I hope I got your presidents right. Yang berusaha Dr. Razif Jamaluddin, President of Tourism Educators Association and Deputy President of Asia Tourism Association. Of course, my good friend, Yang berusaha Dr. Sri Kumar, Chairman of Asia Centre for Tourism. And he's been the driving force of the Asia Centre of Tourism together with us for several years now, before we made it something official. So I thank all of you for being here this morning for this particular function, which we think is very timely, as we are about a week away, slightly more than a week away from us opening up our borders on the 1st of April. So it's something for us to, what you call, take stock of, and for us to get together, at least exchange ideas, because I see some eminent, what you call, speakers today, the whole day, for us to look from different aspects and different angles of how we're tackling the tourism sector as a whole. And I think we got learned people here to, what you call, to help us through, to understand. And I can see from my quick introductions to the participants here, we got a good, very, what you call, participants as well, who represent different key actors of the sector itself. So ladies and gentlemen, let us thank the Almighty for the strength and patience given to us as we shouldered a pandemic that we have experienced over the last 24 months or so. The COVID-19 pandemic has wrought unprecedented devastation, not only to what you call every sector, but especially to the tourism sector. I think you were the one which was hardest hit, and the first hit and hardest hit sector was the tourism sector. So Shabbas to all of you who have survived and who are still here this morning, still interested to be active players in the sector itself. Well done to all of you. You got the resilience to be successful. As we all know, the sector has been so badly hit that even today, as domestic travelers, when we travel to any hotel, even a 5-star hotel, we're not getting the full kind of service that we were getting before, due to all the restrictions that is placed, and the operators cannot give the kind of service that you're looking for. And we all know that tourism is a key pillar and a key, what they call, a driver of socio-economic growth, especially in Malaysia, and as well as most of countries in Asia and the Pacific. It employs roughly 150 million people in the region and provides opportunities to strengthen communities and ecosystems. And now we're talking very much of ESGs, I think tourism has a very important role to play as well in terms of ESG, whether we like it or not. We all know that 1st April, there is a new light which is shining at the end of the tunnel. I hope, tunnel has been a long tunnel for many of us in the industry. It's been, even we in the education sector have been affected by the COVID, whether you like it or not. So that light at the end of the tunnel, especially for the tourism sector, is very important for us as we get out of the tunnel and start moving. But we all know it's not going to be business as usual. It's going to be slightly different or very different from what we have seen before. For most of us in industry, we accept that the road to tourism recovery is going to be longer and with greater twists and turns than imagined at the beginning of the pandemic. I think many of us did not think that we would have an MCO1 and MCO2 and MCO3 and didn't think that it is going to be so long, and didn't think that a new variant called Omicron will come about, or Delta before then, or Omicron will come about, and where we find infectivity rates are much, much higher than what it was before. But we are all rather good citizens, because I think Malaysia has got one of the highest vaccination rates in the world, because we abide by what the government asks us to do. We don't have what they call road protests. We don't go out and say that, no, we're not going to get our booster shots, etc., and all that kind of thing. So having been one of the most highly vaccinated nations in the world is my hope, and I hope, inshallah, that that our tourism sector will be able to recover better than most other countries because our vaccination rates are very high, and therefore more people will get less of an infection or no infection at all. And I think we all know, those of us who are sitting in this room, we all know somebody, some of our relatives, or some of our working colleagues, or a friend, or an associate who's just got COVID recently. That's how how prevalent this particular variant is. To me, because I come from the health sector field, my background is health sector, it's a blessing in disguise. For those of you who think that it's not a blessing in disguise, it is a blessing in disguise because this is a variant which does not give severe symptoms, and severe consequences as Delta was. So you have less death rates, etc., kind of thing. Overall, in terms of infectivity, it may be higher, but fatality is down. So in other words, we are creating, whether we like it or not, herd immunity at the same time, natural immunity, while we get vaccination at the same time. So in many ways, the Omicron is a blessing from Allah that, I give you this infection, it's mild, just like a flu, you get it, you're out for about a week or so, then you recover, you have natural immunity built into yourself, which is better than vaccinated, so-called immunity kind of thing. So I think going back to this situation here, we may be in the future having cycles of opening and restrictions. I'm not so sure. It may happen because it's human nature, just like the flu. I mean, the flu that we have today is actually origin from the Spanish flu. I think you all have heard of the Spanish flu, right? Actually, it's not a Spanish flu. For those of you who know about history, it didn't originate from Spain. It was from US. But the US blamed the Spanish and called it the Spanish flu, So we think that it came from Spain. No, it was actually from the US. But the Spanish flu, when it first came, it decimated about 15% of the world population. That's how severe it was, because that was the age before antibiotics, etc., before we knew a new vaccination. But the flu is still here until today. It's not gone away. So to me, the COVID will be here. It's not going to go away. It's going to be here for the next few generations. It's how do we, adjust ourselves to the COVID, and whether the COVID, infections become more severe or less severe. As we all know, in the case of the flu, some of us go down more severe when we get infected by the flu. Some of us, have no effect at all. The flu doesn't affect us at all. And some of us may get it, but it's only a mild. We are out for 2-3 days, and then we are okay. So we are seeing that phenomenon now with Omicron as well. Particularly among kids, we find that they recover very fast, 2-3 days to recover. Among most people who are vaccinated and boosted or whatever kind of thing, about a week, and then they recover. Of course, there'll be 1 or 2 will show very serious symptoms. But that's the norm of how these infections go about. The difficult recovery, especially in in this sector, is caused by the pandemic, is compounded by another problem. And we all know what this other problem is, because we have seen this affecting Malaysia, and Malaysia is going to be one of those countries which is going to be affected quite badly by climate change. I think we look at the predictions that are coming out. what they call the water level is going to rise until, maybe half of Klang Valley itself will disappear, will be underwater itself. So that's how serious it is. By the year 2050, I don't think I'll be around by 2050, but many of you will be around by 2050. You may see it. So I'm quite safe in my house at the moment because, by 2050, I don't think I'm around. But I think the area where I'm staying will also be underwater by 2050 if the prediction is right. But that's because we're a peninsula, because we're surrounded by water. So as the water level goes up, it will disappear. So will Maldives. Maldives, most of the atolls will disappear. So will what they call many of the beaches in what they call in Thailand and Vietnam and Indonesia, etc., will disappear as well. So climate change is here to stay, and whether it's going to get worse or not is going to depend very much on all of us, especially the developed nations, because they are the biggest culprits as far as climate, what they call change is concerned. They are the biggest polluters in the world. Unlike us, we are not such a big polluter, but the cost of it, all of us have to bear the cost of climate change. So climate change is something that, whether we like it or not, we in the sector will have to be also very much aware of it, as people, as the tourists themselves have become very sensitive to what they call to climate change. And we all know about ESGs. We all know about what they call reducing what they call carbon credits. So we are talking about reducing fossil fuel. I was talking to a few CEOs over the last few months, and some of them were saying that for them their rating, their financial rating in terms of borrowing, will also depend very much on how much fossil fuel they burn. So for those people in the sector, if you are an owner of what they call hotels, etc., resort kind of things, what's your carbon footprint? That too becomes very important for people to look at. Particularly tourists now have become sensitive in terms of how much of it are you recycling, how much of it are you wasting, etc., and all that kind of thing. So it's something that we got to think about as well. I think at the same time, it opens up what they call new avenues. I think the pandemic has made all of us in every sector to become more innovative and creative. In order for us to continue to be viable, we have no choice. Either you innovate and be creative, or you die. Yeah, that was what they call situation when we were for the last 24 months. So most of us had to look back at our business, look back at our operations, look at what we've been doing, and whether we can continue doing so, or do we have to adopt and adapt, or do we have to move into a new space and look at new spaces kind of thing. And I think the new space has come out in terms of tourism is a tech tourism. Yeah, we're seeing a lot of virtual tourism. We even see people who miss flying and miss the cabin food, and they take a flight to nowhere. Just want to go around and come back again because they miss it so much, kind of thing. So we are seeing that new trends are coming in, and we can see too that due to the COVID, a lot of transactions are taking place online. So a lot we see a lot of that, and we see a lot of what you call virtual tours, which are happening at the same time. So somebody who's gone for a virtual tour, when they now come for the actual in-person tour, of course they want a different experience from what they had before. Yeah, so I think that's something that we got to be aware of. So I think the tagline that I want to introduce to you all in terms of the what they call sector, my thinking, I think we should be not talking about building back better our business, but we should be thinking of how do we build to move forward into the future. That's the way we should be thinking about. Because the future is not going to be the same as the past, or even the present. It's going to be very different from what we have been through and what we are now going through. And therefore, for those of us in the sector, we have to start thinking out of the box. We have to start becoming futurists to see that how do we now, as operators in the sector, think of the future, what they call tourists, and what would the future tourists be looking for, and how do we adopt and adapt and provide the kind of service that they're looking for. I think because the future tourists, the future in-person tourist is going to be much more discerning, will be much more demanding in terms of the kind of services that we have to provide. I'm sure topmost in their mind will be safety. Yeah, when they talk about safety, not just safety in terms of the physical, what they call well-being, but also in all aspects of safety. I was actually on a webinar, if you remember, Dr. Sri, on safety and security. We're talking about, that the future tourists, I'm sure at every touch point, the moment they land at the airport, or even before that, when they're looking for destinations that they want to come to, when they're surfing online, etc., kind of thing, what kind of experience are they getting of visiting Malaysia, kind of thing? So how good are we in terms of projecting our nation out there, our brand experience out there, the Malaysia brand of hospitality and tourism out there. And then when they land, what kind of experience do they have from the time they land to the time they are at they end up in the lodgings, and then they're moving on and doing whatever they're doing here as tourists. At every touch point, with every person they come in contact with, what kind of experience do they get? I think previously they may forgive people for giving less than substandard services, but the future in person, I think, will not tolerate substandard services. They want the best because they're coming in person. And in many ways, during this next few months, they're still taking a risk coming in person because there is still the risk factor. The Omicron is still there, not that it's gone. It's just that they want to get out of the country for a moment. So the risk, the health risk is still there. So I'm sure we have to minimize the health risk as much as we can. Just like you coming to this in-person function, we have to minimize the health risk as much as we can. So that's something that we have to be very much aware of. So I think we have seen the last 24 months, people are communicating via the internet more and more. You see the bookings are being done, more and more online. We are bypassing, even travel agencies, we are bypassing them and doing it ourselves, etc., kind of thing. Meaning that, that we have to, when I mentioned just now about being innovative, the pandemic has given us opportunities to think out of the box, to be more creative. And there's an English saying, necessity is the mother of invention. So we know that in order for us to provide a better service for the future, and the new kind of service that we need to provide in the future, we have got to be more creative and inventive than what we were doing before. And therefore, the pandemic, whether you like it or not, and whether it's affected us positively or negatively, the one positive thing that we can take from the pandemic is the fact that we are now much more conscious of our health, that's for sure. The second thing is that those of us who are in the business, and especially in the tourism sector, we know that change is going to be the future constant. It's not going to be, change and we are happy with that. So I would like to leave you with 5 suggestions, which I think, is important for us to build the future better rather than, build back better. I think number 1, I think we cannot escape from the fact that domestic tourism is going to be very important, at least for the next 12 months or so, before things really settle down, kind of thing. So we got to give special attention to domestic tourism and making sure that domestic tourists are having as good an experience as an international tourist would be here in Malaysia. Opening up new destinations for tourism, new experiences for tourism. This is where the creativity comes. Actually, Malaysia has got a lot of wonderful things to show and experience. It's just that sometimes our packaging is very poor. I go to some countries, I look at, as a tourist, I look at what they have and what we have. I think we have things which are better, if you ask me. I mean, Dr. Sri, you and I, we know, you've been in Maldives for many times. You stayed there and worked there. I went to Maldives many times. Some of our beaches are much, much better than Maldives beaches, right? It's just that we do not know how to sell our beaches as well as Maldives. The Maldivians know how to sell the beaches better than we do. And neither can we provide the kind of service that they provide. I mean, we go to Indonesia, we go to Cambodia, we go to Vietnam, we're talking just Southeast Asia, or you go to Thailand. The experience the tourist has there is sometimes much better than what we have, even though that tourist destination may be actually subpar compared to our tourist destination. It's just that, at every touch point, we're not giving them the kind of experience that they want. So this is something we got to look at as operators and actors in the domestic sector. Let us look at this more seriously and let us say that, we're going to provide better value for money services. Second, I mentioned just now about ESG. I think ESG is becoming more and more important. And therefore, ecological issues, environmental issues are something that we have to think about as well. And many destinations now look at how can they become zero waste. Yeah, many resorts are looking at becoming zero waste, etc. kind of things. So I think this is something as well that we have to look for, because this is what the future tourist is looking for. That they don't want to create carbon footprints when they come here, a bigger carbon footprint when they come here. That's one. Number 2, we talk about the indigenous people, the natives of the land. This is something that we have to look at in terms of when we talk about environment, we talk about ecology, etc., and all that kind of thing. And there's so much. If you look at Malaysia, we have so many different ethnicities here. And there's so much we can learn from each ethnic group, and what they call, and it's wonderful, and so rich, and yet we are not leveraging enough on it. So that's something that we need to look at. This is something that we should look at for, in a way, the infrastructure. And I look at, when I say infrastructure, I also include infrastructure. I think, how we reach out through the internet, through the what they call, through the virtual space is now sometimes more important than how we reach out to the physical, what they call, interaction. So I think all of us have got to be tech savvy, whether we like it or not, in terms of how we provide our services out to potential tourists, and as well as when the tourist is here. How many of us have got apps in which where the tourists can follow us, through the app? Because now it's IoT, Internet of Things, and a lot of people are using, Internet of Things in order for the tourists to enjoy themselves. I was just reading an article. There was a big hoo-ha in the world when Saudi came up, with the virtual, what they call virtual Umrah app. You can just go and do your Umrah virtually and say, what is this? This innovation, this bid'ah shouldn't be allowed, etc. kind of thing. But basically, it's giving them a simulated, experience of how to do the Umrah. So how much are we doing in terms of IoTs? This is something that we need to think about as well. Then we think about what they call taxation. I think taxation, is something that all of us in the industry are very, what they call, conscious about. Because sometimes when government introduces certain tax, some tourist tax, etc. kind of thing, it affects our business, whether we like it or not. And I think Sheikh Uzairi, etc. kind of thing is always talking about not taxation, but other incentives. I think this is something that industry players must come together, associations have got to come together to look how can we incentivize the industry, the sector as a whole, and how do we, what they call, even if you put in tax, I think the average tourist will be prepared to pay a tax if you talk about ESG, if you talk about conservation, if you talk about, issues of concern close to the heart. I don't think they mind paying tax. But if they're paying tax for a service which is not going to be any better, then I think the average tourist will get very upset. So I think if you do taxation too, you've got to look how you want to tax. And you've got to be creative in how you tax, so that they're willing to pay the extra, for example, entrance fee, they're prepared to pay extra the entrance fee, but of course they see that, that money is going towards conservation, towards going to preservation, towards going something positive, good, ecological or environment, etc. kind of thing, then it's good. And good for the safety, goes for the safety, etc. Then fine, that's something. So I think that's something that you've got to look at. And finally, something close to my heart, and which is education and training. So I think as we move towards this new future that we're talking about, there's more education and training that needs to take place for all actors in the sector. It's not just a particular key actor, but all sectors. As we mentioned just now, the new in-person, what they call tourists, has many touch points. It's going to come across many different people as they move around in the country. But at every touch point, everybody must be able to play their role correctly. So I think this is where education and what they call and training becomes very important. Give an example. I go to some countries. You take the taxi. The taxi driver can tell you a lot more about the destination that you're in, and all the tourist interesting places, that kind of thing, and volunteer to take you to certain places, that kind of thing. So that's basic in terms of experience with a taxi driver. If you go and shop, the retail shops, what's the kind of experience you have, customer experience or tourist experience you have with what they call retail owner kind of thing. So each and every one, because we think of, only the tourist guide should know things. But no, even a non-tourist guide, who's not a specialist in guiding the tourists, they play a much more important role sometimes in enticing the tourists to spend more money, in enticing tourists to spend more time, in enticing the tourists to go to a new destination we never thought of, because they tell them, hey, this place is better than the place that that you read about or somebody told you about, kind of thing. So I think every touch point is very important. And for every person they come across, they need to be educated, they need to be trained on how to be of service to the tourists, whether it's domestic tourists or whether it's international tourists. So this is something that we need to look at. Bearing that in mind, that is why we set up, because we've been doing some, what we call the training here in hospitality and tourism for quite some time. But we felt that in order to have better focus, we should establish an Asia Center for Tourism to give it better focus with the necessary expertise as advisors at the very top of the center itself. So people like Uzaidis is one of those people who are what they call advising us on how can we improve, our what they call content in terms of education and training. At the moment, we got something like 50 plus training programs in all sectors. We talk about every aspect of tourism and hospitality. We are working together with DHS or Dr. Sri in order for us to develop those kind of programs, as well as we do training and placement at the same time. And we can now do placement in different countries as well, even international placements, etc. kind of thing. So I think this is something we got to look at as we move towards the new, I would say, new tourism of the future. More and more training will be required. So this is where I hope the associations and people who are key actors in the what they call in the sector is able to what they call persuade the necessary agencies to provide more funding for this purpose, because this kind of funding for this purpose is actually an investment, because that will actually snowball and what they call and give us better returns. We talk about small investment for training, but it gives better returns. So that's something we look at, and we feel that we can what they call be of service as one of the service providers for education and training. By end of this month, we hope the center will have 29 specialized training programs in tourism itself, apart from the 54 short-term and what they call courses that we have to assist the industry, especially in upskilling and reskilling. Dr. Sri in particular is looking at not just upskilling and reskilling of people within the sector itself, but bringing new players into the sector itself. Single moms, even ex-convicts, of what they call life sentences, bringing them on board. Silver hat people, bringing them on board. Retirees, women who work at home, housewives, at the moment, they can also be involved in some way or another. So all of these people, these are new actors into the sector, and we can help to expand the sector and make a much more exciting sector for all of us to be involved with. So my take-home message is that I think we have hopefully, inshallah, we have passed the worst. For those of us who have survived the worst, I think we should thank the Almighty that we have survived. And there is a saying, I was reading a few articles in terms of surviving the pandemic. They said that every business which has survived the pandemic is now resilient enough to grow. So all of us must be talking about growth rather than sustaining ourselves, but now talking about growth, because we survived the worst. Meaning that, survival, as a matter of survival, we have managed despite the environment which is very negative towards us, we managed to survive. Now with a much more positive environment, we should be able to grow. That's the idea. So there must be growth. So positive thinking in terms of how do I grow my, my business in the near future. Another bottom line for growth is that how can I be more creative and innovative? How can I be different? How can I do things differently, more efficiently, more interestingly, much better experience for the tourists, etc., and all that kind of thing. And thirdly, is that how can I work together with people like us, educators and trainers, in order to train your staff, etc., and all that kind of thing to move forward. So I wish you all the very best for this day. Thank you very much for committing yourself to this day to be together with us. I hope the experts we have invited to talk to you will give you sufficient, they say they fertilize your mind in order to start, the brain thinking of new things, new creative things, and how you want to move into the future, especially in this very competitive sector. I was just talking to Uzaidis. If we talk about opening up the borders, yes, we are opening up our borders, but if we talk about neighbors, they're opening up faster, and the procedures, the SOPs seem to be much more easier, so it becomes much more attractive for people to go there. So we are in competition, and we are in a global competition for tourists. So I think unless all of us who are part of the value chain for the what they call in-person tourism, we all have got to help each other for us to make sure that Malaysia becomes the favorite tourist destination. Wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Datuk, for the welcoming address. Ladies and gentlemen, our program this morning will begin with presentation by Encik Uzaidi Udanis, President of Malaysia Tourism Council's MTC, on the first topic titled New Marketing Strategy. Please welcome.
Thank you, saudari pengurusi majlis, yang berbahagia Profesor Dr. Ansari Ahmad, founder and president of Asia Universities, for a fantastic support to tourism industry. We give a big clap to Professor Dr. Sri Kumar, president of DHS Hospitality Academy, who has been pushing me to the wall so that we can move forward and to make sure that we are surviving mode. And Dr. Razib, my colleagues, especially in these workshops, to share some of his input. And to everybody, welcome. Thank you for your time, for precious time. I know everybody is busy. And welcome to the Asia University. I think most of you have this is the first time. And I hope you guys please connect you guys to Asia University to make yourself comfortable and to take up any courses. They are so fantastic, a lot of fantastic courses, MBA, even doctorate. So I hope you guys take advantage of these facilities in the universities. First of all, thank you very much to the Asia Universities and the faculty and also DSS Hospitality for fantastic initiative on these courses, short course. I call it Future New Tourism Strategies. And later on this afternoon, we have this Tourism Recovery Recognition Award, which our guest of honor is the Datuk Sri Muhammad Shakar, is the ESCO Pahang, State Tourism ESCO Pahang. I hope you guys stay and meet him. Probably he gets some ideas on how we can move forward. So on this basis, can I have the slides, please? Ada. Slide. Yeah. PPT PowerPoint. Yeah. Okay, just introduce myself. My name is Yuzaidi Udanis. And you guys kalau tak ingat, mungkin you call me Yuyu. Abang Yuyu better. Not Pakcik Yuyu. Abang Yuyu is better. And I'm the president of Malaysian Tourism Council and also the president of Malaysian Inbound Tourism Administrations. And today my topic is about new tools in sales funnel. It's very important of the new tools in the sales funnel. Boleh. Is it on? Tak nampak on. On. Oh, on. Okay. Okay. Now okay. Okay. All right. Okay. So basically, I've been telling the ministry or the authorities that we need to open up the border since 2020, but nobody, very difficult because at the time is the peak of the Delta, peak of the COVID. But last year, reminded them, industri pelancongan perlu pasaran antarabangsa to survive. We cannot depend on domestic. So the article was in 16 April 2021. Exactly 1 year before. 1 year. This article, through this article, I got branded, especially bamboo, by all the cyber troopers, all the internet users, especially in Twitter. They said, "Mak engkau Zaidi, buka border, mak engkau hijau." I wish you had COVID. So many times I wish you die with this article. And I got a very high publicity on this, negative publicity. But anyway, I stick to my decision, my aim, my mind is that we need to have international market. There's no way for us to close. You look at the best practice like Maldives, Dr. Azri was in Maldives. Maldives, you look at Dubai, they were doing well. Well, of course, you have to accept it. You have to live the virus. Those international market is important because of our market is so small. Our domestic market is very small. And we don't know when is the recession, because of recession maybe there's less demand. And then we already had, at the moment, we already had a saturation point. You look at this Chinese New Year punya season, not many hotels are fully booked. Banyak yang kosong. So we know that the domestic market already saturated. Economics of large scale, there's no large scale, and also the government rules and regulations, it makes difficult for the big groups, for the mice. I remember that a few months ago, the Ministry of Finance has issued a letter saying that no more functions, government won't be allowed to have any function in hotels. So that was a big hit. So we tried to give a memorandum to the Minister of Finance, to the Prime Ministers. At the end, they open up lah. They say, okay lah, because of this pandemic, we need to have hotels. We have to open up and to still organize events in hotels. Otherwise, who's going to organize events in hotels? So, it's very important for us to be together to make sure to get these points right ahead at the authority level. Otherwise, we've been left out all the negative points. So, and of course, we need to have international market because of the price has risen, especially the perang, the war between the Ukraine and Russia. It has escalated a lot, especially on the petroleum. We may not notice it, but if you check with your counterparts in overseas, I just had a talk with Australian agents yesterday. They were saying the petrol was very high now, even in US. But here in Malaysia, we still subsidize. So we still okay lah. But you know how long, but definitely the cost will go up. Yeah? So to make it easier, to make us survive, we need to open up our border. So I just want to, the first part, I want to just share the whole concept first. Why is it important, everything. The second part is the tools. I will share the tools and the strategy. Right. So if you look into before COVID-19, this is the most top 10 countries. Top 10 countries. France received 90 millions. Spain received 83 millions. US received 79 million. China received 65 millions. Italy 64 millions. Turkey 51 millions. Mexico 45 millions. Thailand 39 millions. Germany 39 millions. United Kingdom 39 millions. So this was before COVID-19, 2019. Mana Malaysia? So basically we are so proud that we are actually top destination. But before COVID, we are not in the list. We are not in the list. So that's the fact we have to face. We received roughly about 26 million. So if you look into before and after, the recovery definitely won't recover in 2022. So don't give your high hopes. 2022 just little bit here and there. It won't be recover. UNWO said 2024, but you never know. With the war escalation, with the price of hike up, we never know. But tourism is the low-hanging fruit, which you can take and pluck and eat ourselves. That's the best. We don't have to invest. The government don't have to invest on infrastructure, don't have to do anything. So if we look into these top 10 countries, go to the Malaysia. Malaysia is only, we receive about, the highest is 26 million. 26 million. Compared to Thailand, 35 millions. And last year, 2020 is 4 millions. And this is actually the top 10 tourists. I have to explain to you this because we need to be realistic. April 1st, open up. It's not just open up the gate and everybody come in. No. We have to see who is our customer. Our customer, number one, Singapore, 10 millions. Indonesia, 3 millions. China, 3 millions. Thailand, 1.8 million. Brunei, 1.2 million. India, 733,000. South Korea, 673,000. Japanese, and Philippines and Vietnam. These were the top 10 international tourist arrival to Malaysia. Will it change? Realistically, it won't change. The components will be the same after the April 1st. But look at the details, Singapore. Are these people, Singaporeans, tourists? See, the definition of tourists, you go to one place from point A to point B, you stay overnight. That's the definition. So most probably Singapore, they just have datang, shopping, everything, tidur, everything balik. They don't spend anything else. So they consider as tourists. So if we look into other countries like Thailand, it's basically tourists. They don't have any people who come in from other places. They basically tourists. So we depend so much on Singapore market. Singapore 10 millions. So just to give you the snapshot, everything. And we had our survey last month with our players. Roughly about 110 members of MITA has taken part of this. So the expectation of the international arrival is the same. Mostly ASEAN. Don't be so ambitious. Go and go. Actually, ASEAN is the number one source. Number two, China. But China is still close. I hope they will open in third quarter or fourth quarter. And also the South Asia like India, Bangladesh is number three, and also the Middle East also, and also others. So don't be so ambitious. But even though we need to penetrate other markets, but these are the realistic market. So we need to make sure how can we use the new strategy and new tools to attract this existing market. Yeah. And the international market, where do we get? We are the travel agents, tour operator, hotels. Basically, it has changed a lot. Initially, we depend so much on China market, where we depend on travel agents. Travel agents give us, most of them, they go to Singapore, then we pick up them from Singapore to the second link. That's the most common lah. One group, maybe 2-3 groups per 3 buses from China, shopping tours. Most common. Now it has difference. More or less, what we expected now, based on the discussion with the airlines and everything, the travel agents play a very low role, small role. So we expect travel agents only contribute 20% of our tourist arrival, whereas the direct consumer is higher. So it comprises of family, saudara, friends, but the direct consumer has estimate about 70%, and others like associations, influencer, and other things, with about a few percent. So the big buck is the main direct market, the direct market. So how can we use the new tools and new strategies to attract this direct market without using middlemen? That's our main challenges. And we look into the composition of the tourists. The groups, only 7%. Groups, I mean 20 packs above, 7%. And individual, family, small groups are 93%. So this has changed the game. Jangan kata kita depend on the groups, very less. So how can we compete with the existing players to attract the small and individual numbers of group, type of tourists? It's very difficult. Then we have to change the system, we have to change the method, we have to change the strategy. All right? So on this thing, maybe later on we can just have, kita can interact. We just not be one way. I just want to give you a snapshot, and later on we discuss. So at the moment we have, before 1st of April, we have 2 initiatives. If you want to bring tourists, foreign tourists, we have 2 initiatives. What are those? Anybody knows? Ada 2 cara saja yang boleh kita bawa pelancong antarabangsa. Can I just give some maybe anybody? 2. What is two things? No, border. Okay, now it's already open border. Actually, open border. Through these 2 things. What is these 2 things? Through these 2 initiatives of facilities. Satu is what? Langkawi International Travel Bubble. The border is not closed, no. The border can be open with using these 2 things. One is Langkawi International Travel Bubble. The second one is what? VTL, Vaccinated Travel Bubble, Singapore, KL. And now already open Singapore, Penang. And on the 15th, we have this VTL, Singapore, Malaysia, Cambodia, and Malaysia, Thailand. So through VTL. So there are two things, two initiatives. One is the Langkawi Travel Bubble. One is VTL. Let's look at the result of the Langkawi Travel Bubble. So we call it Langkawi Travel Bubble. I just want to So this is in Malay. Langkawi Travel Bubble is you need to use travel agents. You need to use travel agents. The government or ministry has imposed that to bring in tourists from overseas to Malaysia, you need to use travel agents to Langkawi Travel Bubble. Secondly, these travel agents, mostly small travel agents, has received direct consumers. Never in history, small travel agents can receive direct consumers from Europe and from US. So this is good. This is good progress, because normally when travel agents want to bring in tourists, they have to go to their wholesaler. In Europe, they have wholesaler, Thomas Cook lah, TUI lah, all the big giants lah. In order for you to be a vendor or supplier to these big companies, big wholesaler, you need to have $1 million insurance. So that and whenever anything happen, even you promise sunshine, and when it rains, the consumer can claim that it was not the same as the one in the brochure. So they have to have this all kind of requirements. So with this Langkawi Travel Bubble, you can receive direct consumers. That's a good thing. The third thing is, a lot of us are so used to be suppliers, not marketeers. You know this, one of the wise minds said, he said, content is the king. Content is the king, yes, good. Content is the king. Very important to have activity, content is the king. But marketing is queen. Without marketing, you will never control the whole thing. So marketing is very important. So a lot of us, including me, so complacent becoming a supplier. Supplier as the car rental lah, supplier as a hotel lah, supplier as whatever lah, the van lah, buses lah. We are not marketeers. So with this ILITB, it has changed a little bit. And also, of course, a lot of in Langkawi, especially Langkawi travel agents, they compete each other, especially the island hopping, all this side tours has changed, so that the price is so competitive that they undercut each other. This is what happened in LITB. And international hotel is getting more aggressive. You look at the Turkey, you look at this other countries like, for example, Dubai, everything, they're getting a lot of incentive for the our travel agents. So this competing with us. Now everybody can go out, but not everybody can come in only openly, only through these two things, LITB and also VTL. This is what happened in LITB. So there are some goods and also some bad things. And look at the statistics. LITB, from you started 15 November right to 3rd March, the statistics. We received from Sweden 275 packs, US 330 packs, Australia 350 packs, Germany 372 packs, Great Britain, UK 672 packs. So total from 15 November to right to 2nd March, it was this is from the immigration, 5,414 packs. 5,414. 5,414 is about roughly 139 days. If you divide 5,414, you divide by 139, it's about 39 packs, 39 tourists per day. For the whole nation, no? Is it enough? It's good because they use the travel agent. Yes, the travel agent can be proud, can be joined. But is it enough for us? It's not realistic at all. So travel bubble, it is not realistic. Even though if I say this, some of the travel agents marah at me. Hey, how come, you should protect travel agents? Yes. But if you look into the whole big picture, it is not enough. We can go far. We cannot go far. It's not good for our industry. Somehow or other, somebody will die. Hotel, restaurant will die because 39 packs per day. Compared to Thailand. I will share with Thailand one. Right? So the conclusion is, on these statistics, most arrival from developed countries. Why? Because the ASEAN countries still closed. Even though they open, they have to come back. When they come back to Indonesia, they have to quarantine 10 days. 10 days in the hotel, so bukan 10 days kat rumah. Not like us, Indonesia. So it has different. So ASEAN is still closed. And the conclusion from LITB, we want to find ways and means and strategy how to promote and penetrate these developed countries without using middlemen. How to do it? That's why I'm going to share it now, later on, how to do it. And perhaps we can try it together and see how it works, right? So the latest challenges is we cannot depend on quantity. There's no way, no quantity. We have to go on quality. We have 9,000 buses. As I've been told, only 10% of the buses renewed their license, renewed their road tax. 10%. Buat 900, itu pun tak cukup. 900 for 39 packs per day, you know. So how do you want to share? So what are we going to do with these buses? These buses were lying in the stockyard all over Malaysia. Sooner or later, they will kena tarik. When tarik, how to auction out? And there must be a forced sales price. The balance of the forced sales, definitely they will go, the bank will go, or the finance company will go after the entrepreneurs, which they need to top up, right? When they collect the forced sales value. So this is actually very difficult. And we have a lot of unnecessary regulations, which we can revisit. So I've been doing that. Looking at the cruise. After Genting closed, no other cruise here in Malaysia. We are surrounded by the sea, but not even one cruise company based here. Tak masuk akal lah. Like Florida, thousands of cruise over there. Look at Singapore. You know, why can't we have? We have 18 marinas, 18 beautiful marinas in Malaysia. Not even one cruise ship. So that's how we think. And we look at the wedding. We have to do a lot of wedding tourism is very important for us. But a lot of regulation and everything, you need to register in KDN and everything. Well, okay, good, but make it easier now. We want to make it easier. And MM2H, as you know, MM2H, make it difficult. And the yachting, which I was fighting like crazy last year, which now the yacht mostly go to Thailand and Indonesia. But again, these are the new challenges, and also the disruptive new models. We are using OTA, everybody using OTA, online travel agents. A lot from developed countries are using AI. Dr. Ansari say the IoT is very important, but we have not been using it. This AI like Alexa, Amazon, anything you want, you just ask them, ask Alexa, and Alexa will give answers. So without travel agents. Innovative accommodations. I've been told in Bali, one of the most expensive accommodation in Bali is Pondok di Pokok. 3 house. And 3 house cost $1,000 per night. And the waiting list is fantastic. It's long waiting list. We have a lot of trees. Can we do something like that? So this is innovative accommodations. And of course the NFT, the non-fungible token or something, which is now becoming hit now, which a lot of new developed countries using it. So we need to go in that. These are disruptive new models. And the new tourists require a lot of things. And also our current problem now. Yesterday I was interviewed by the recruiter, was asking about the workers, the current workers. The shortcut is to take in foreign workers. But is it a good solution? Whereas the university has UITM have given a lot, about 6,000 graduates. Are we sideline them, or are we to make it easier bring in foreign workers? It's up to us. But again, the workers is a problem. The model, the capital, the banks looking at this industry is a very high risk. For us to take a loan is not that easy. So we need to depend, and also we are close. If we open up, we can go and take other source of finance companies, but we are so close, so we don't have any options. And also a lot of SOP is not been during this LITB, it was a nightmare to me. I received a lot of calls, especially from US, from Dubai. They were stuck, and the agents refer my number to them. I have to. Wow, that was one week is like a nightmare for me. But it's about communication. The SOP is not there. So the travel agents, of course, the important the challenge. I just want to tell you the whole thing before I jump into the tools. Of course, the challenge is the pricing, because pricing is very important. The channel and the product, we don't have much product. Like Dr. Ansari said that we don't have enough. We have a lot of products, but we have not really highlight these products. The purchasing power of the world now, I'm not so sure after this war, a lot of have been affected, and also of course the competition of the world and the countries, and for us travel agents, it's easier for us to sell outbound. To sell Turkey is much easier for me to sell that rather than to sell Langkawi. Even though Langkawi is so small margin, but Turkey is at least 300, 400 ringgit per pax. It's easier for me to sell Turkey than to sell Langkawi. That's the big challenge for us. So these are the things that we need to see. And look at the current situation in the other parts. Thailand has received 427,000 in the year of 2021. 427,000. It just opened up in 2021. And whereas we just now receive how much? 5,000 per 39 packs per day. Maldives, 1.3 million. What is Maldives? Professor Dr. Ansari say, small islands. What is there? Everything is important. Dr. Sri was there for many years. Even I think minuman or everything all imported. So it's told, of course the water is beautiful, but we have so many islands in Malaysia. 1.3 billion. Dubai 3.8 million until September. Turkey 14 million last year, where we received only 5,000. 14 million. And Malaysia, I did mention 5,000, and so VTL KLIA. And this actually, we have to compete, because the tourists need to know which country that they visit easily, not hassle. So this is the challenge, and we have come out with the plan, the mapping. Mapping is just five things that we need to. This one I've been discussing, I've been telling so many times. 5 things. One is the product, reinvent product. Number 2 is research what markets. Number 3 is recommend marketing. Number 4 is technology, leverage technology. Number 5 is the recalibrate or the regulations. 5 things we need to do this for us to survive, for us to move forward. 5 things. I'm going to share all these things later on with you. So now the important thing is, today's session, ni baru start ni. Today's session, how to promote direct market. Agree tak? To promote direct market without using middlemen. Number 2 is how to collect this database. Database is very important. Why database is very important? You look at this platform, Grab, how many millions they have? We have to depend on them. Lazada, Shopee. Who are they? What are they? They just have a big database, big listing. And how to monetize this database? And upsell and how to cross and upsell with database. What happened to this our tourists? When I share the Malaysian tourists, our tourist arrival 23 million, 24 million, doesn't go more than 26 million. Why is it? If you look Thailand, I don't have this Thailand. Thailand, dia punya multiplier so fast. One of the reason is they have repeat buyers, repeat tourists. Whereas we don't depend so much on repeat buyers, repeat tourists. Now we need to cross and upsell, and we need to sell. If we sell spa packages, one person, we have to make sure that person buy again. Say, or maybe other packages, spa packages. If we have this education tourism, we need them to come in to learn more new things, to cross and upselling, because to get new customer is more expensive than to maintain the existing customer. So that's the number one marketing rules. We must make sure our tourists datang sini, dia datang 1 year ahead, 1 year before that, or after that, 1 or 2 years after that. We need repeat tourists. That's why you look into Thailand and Malaysia. Thailand dia punya increase so sharp. Malaysia 26, 25, 26, 26, sama. Because we don't have repeat buyers. Why is it you don't have repeat buyers? So many reasons lah. One of it is maybe the culture. Their culture is different. Their culture is so nice. If you look into Bali, apa khabar Pak? Terima kasih Pak. You look into Thailand, Sawadee-krap, the way they are so fantastic. What about here in Malaysia? How do they greet? How do they don't even say thank you, terima kasih pun. We don't have our own culture. If you look into Bali, because I've been there so many times, there must be something like culture show in village lah. Kahwin ke apa ke. Here tak ada. Here mostly hotel wedding done in the hotels. So are we hilang on this culture elements or what? So I don't know. So we need to have repeat buyers. So one of the strategy that we have done is to have sales funnel. Sales funnel is very important. Sales funnel, because we look at all the companies, all the successful companies, they have sales funnel, their own sales funnel. You look at Amazon. I think we don't have big customer here in Malaysia lah. But if you look at Amazon model, they have fantastic funnel. They have to make sure the tourist database there, the database, they sell it, they try to sell it, they try to induce it, try to make them buy. When they buy one thing, they give other options. So many times that you want to buy. So same goes Lazada. I think you have the all notification. Notification. Lazada ada hari ni ada RM9 punya offer lah. So we need to have our own funnel. At the moment, I don't see any hotels, any travel agents or any travel have his own funnel. So we need to have this funnel. Funnel based on few elements. One is, they call it AIDA. I think it's basic marketing concept. You need to have attention. You need to have the elements of interest, desire, and take action. There's a lot of us, if you look into the way that the influencer done their video, at the end of the day, they must do action. Call to action. Most of us, we don't have call to action. So we need to change. We need to change this concept to have our own funnel. So each one of you must have his own funnel to create this database and to maintain and to make sure that they buy at least one product every year, kalau boleh. That's the objective of it, right? So this is one example. One of the most popular type is the contest funnel. We have so many things lah. Contest funnel, simple thing. This is a Maldives punya funnel. They said $490 for how many days? 14 days. If you win this if you grab a chance to win Maldives for 5 days, 5 days in Maldives for only $400. It's very cheap if you compare to others. Hotels in Maldives is not cheap. And they receive a lot of database. When they receive a lot of database, they try to monetize this database. Dia punya 2 orang saja dapat $499, the rest tak dapat. So they sell it. So this is one example which is most popular here now in Facebook. We look into the other social media. So you need to have this pakai umpan on this umpan. So this is one example which they receive 10,000, 20,000 of database. And so here like the normal Maldives, attention is special rates. Interest is they have a special interest in diving ke, honeymoon ke, family ke. Desire to create the desire to come to Maldives this year. And action is to purchase. This is basic, simple thing. It is not a rocket scientist punya tu. It's a basic thing. What I'm going to do is I'm going to share my experience, knowledge on this. But you need to have your own database, your own funnel, your own sales funnel. Right? So the process of this actually is more than AIDA. Number one is to prospect. How do you get this prospecting? How do you get it? There are 2 ways of prospecting. One is organic. One is paid, bayar. Organic is your own customer. I'm sure you have other loyal company, loyal customer. I'm sure. So I just want to check. How many of you have at least 100 good customers in your database? Can I have one? Yeah? Good. 100? 100? More than 100? Very fantastic. Maybe lesser than 50? Ada? So we have to audit ourselves. You have to do it. Some people will say, how come I don't have customer? I don't have customer. Look at the records. Most of you mesti ada punya. Kalau tidak ada, maybe you can create this social media, Facebook ke apa. But semua mesti ada punya. So awareness is actually based on iklan, pembayaran ataupun organic. Organic just on customer ni ada. And pembayaran. How to get pembayaran? How to give paid? To get paid database. Through Facebook ads, Instagram ads, or YouTube ads. To get those interests coming in. It's very important of awareness. And once you got this database, you need to know what are their wow factor for us to get this customer. To qualify leads, are they interested in running? Are they interested in cycling? Are they interested in ecotourism? Are they interested in more to the social responsibility, CSR? Are they interested on community based? So we need to identify those people and to evaluate what kind of package that we want to offer them. And number 4 is negotiation, finalizing. And at the end is closing the deals and also deliver the products and get the testimony. Very important to get the testimony. So these are actually, I'm going to share with you this. So I hope, sekarang tak sempat lah nak buat workshop. I hope a week from now, I need to ask you, what is your action on this? So I'm going to do a special club, special groups for this. I need to know so that I can be able to assist you how to go through all this process. So in this class, it's not method theory, but I need you to do it and also report to me so we can share among ourselves and we can see which one the result, which one the result, right? Are you okay, guys? You guys okay? Huh? So I need to know each one of you means sales partner. It's not going to be one day session. I need to know what is your wow factor. What is your thing? I'm going to have a small group, private group in Facebook, so that you'll be able to share your. Of course, there are software. There are a lot of software. One of it is Facebook. It's free. Okay, we have so many get to respond system. These are creating funnel lah. It's up to you. Then I'm going to share with you. This slide I'm going to share with you later on. So don't have to worry about it because it's not so clear. ClickFunnels, Wishpond. I'm using ClickFunnels, lead pages, landing, Insta page, so many things to create this thing. So you need to have this. Worst can do worst, you do it through Facebook groups. Facebook group boleh. So I will teach you on that. Because it's not hands-on sekarang ni, because it's difficult, but later on I will do the video, step by steps, and you can just do yourself. So the strategy like this. We need to have international market. Everybody agree? International market. Number 2 is the pitching session. That means we have to have sales funnel, pitching session. How are we going to do pitching session? So we're going to have a lot of virtual events on how you to pitch your products. How you put products. Then we're going to have a B2B. So starting in 25th of March this month, I'm going to have a B2B virtual session with agents all over the world. Please join in. Starting on Chennai agents on the 25th. Chennai, we just got panel Chennai. And later on we go to Australian, because India we have four offices there. I'm using through Tourism Malaysia. Based on Tourism Malaysia have 30 offices. So we're going to go to one by one officer. Please join in and get to know the agents. Connecting. And after B2B, there's agents. We have to have B2C, not consumer, but corporates, and also B2C, the consumer, and also the engagement of new contents to create your own channel. The funnel is good, but you now must have retain. How are you going to retain your database? Using your own channel. What is your channel? Facebook groups ke, Facebook page ke, ataupun podcast ke, ataupun it's all free, macam Clubhouse. It's free. You can do it. It's free. You have to get all this database. So these are all free. But certain yang tadi yang macam sales partner tu you have to pay lah, because you have to pay, you have to use your own software. So my time is a bit sudah tengah habis. Okay, a bit more, few more. Right. Okay, so our strategy, even before the April 1st, we have done these few things. You must have appetizer. Lot of us waiting for the border to open. Lot of us. But how do you want to compete when the 1st of April open? You must have a wow factor. You must have a bid. So my bid is, we call it my VSP, which we have done 2 years ago, during COVID. We call it Malaysia Virtual Experience. Malaysia Virtual Experience. This my VSP is an interactive session, live session with your prospect, your potential. So I'm going to dive in a few things on that. And this my VSP is good to agents, influencers, and direct consumers. At the moment now, we have to think local. They're local. What are they interested? What kind of things are they interested? So that they can come in here to purchase your product. So from there, we have upsell and ready market, and also and later on we need to upsell other things. These are the concept that we have done since 2020. Not now, 2020. We have done a lot of successful story on this. So I'm going to share you some of it. So Malaysia is very, like Professor Dr. Ansari said, Malaysia a lot of products. We have so many things. So all these things can create niche market, which no other countries can get. Musang King, can they get it from Thailand? Tak ada. Can they get it from Vietnam? Tak ada. Musang King is only in Malaysia, but we don't use that thing. Rambutan, we have rambutan, so many rambutan type rambutan. We have what? We have the rambutan has one jenis rambutan. Pulasan, everything else. So many types of rambutan, no. But we never really use it. Even Singapore has been using it as a Singapore lychee. So we have not been using so many things. We have 5,000 herbs. I was talking to one of the Maldives punya president. It's 5,000 herbs in Malaysia. And last 2 weeks, I had a discussion with the one lady who created this. They call it Malay tea house. Malay tea house. Do we have tea house here in Malaysia culture? I don't see we have a tea house, a tea culture here. In China, yes, we have tea culture. Taiwanese, yes. Korea, yes. Malaysia, adakah? Actually ada. Before the old style, for them to come into the jemputlah minum teh, they've been using that, but we have not continued it. We have so many types of tea. Tea pegaga, tea tongkat ali, tea. We have so many, but we have not really promoted it. So actually, we have our own tea culture. So this lady created this tea house in Genting. If you have time, please. Even we're going to have an inspection trips there. They call it a Malay tea house in Yon Delaman, Genting. So it's getting very, very popular now. So check it out, because these are the things, the elements which we need to put in our packages. So we even have a lot of things. For example, durian. Do you know that more than 1 million Americans love durian? Out of how many hundred? Because they have their own club. They have their own clubs. Clubs, durian lovers. Is this talking about Americans? I thought everybody hates durian. No, they are. So niche market. And so many things we have in Malaysia. Like for example, that the fishing, we have the fishing rompin, the fly fish is on one other part in the world. Not all have it. So so we need to find this niche in order for us to attract them. Cannot be general. So with that, with the niche, we use this MyVSP platform, Malaysia Virtual Experience Platform. Malaysia Virtual Experience Platform is actually to be an appetizer for them to know more, to be more curiosity, to curious, and to come to Malaysia. So you've been using this. So I launched it in 2020. And so many products we have done. For example, Negeri Sembilan, we call it where the woman rules. So we sell it, we market it in US, we market it in Europe. And they will say, is there any countries that the woman rules? Ada, Negeri Sembilan. Ada apa patih? You got apa patih? So we have received it in this registered, this is a tour guide. They make 1,900 ringgit for just 1 hour in a session. And with that, they sell seremban upstairs. So these are actually, the new tools, it's not rocket scientist, no. It's a method tweak in there, you all can do it. We have one in Sempurna. Sempurna, they have a lot of gypsy. So, this guy, Laili, has received a lot from this My VSP's session. We have this clown from Kelantan, Nature Camp, and also now it will be endorsed by the Australian Education as a permanent module through the My VSP. So when everything's okay, they will come. So using these tools and funnels, we can attract new market. And I told you that this one is Laili, raised 159,000 in 2020. Not 2022. No. The time was very bad. He managed to raise that, and that money goes to this CGPC's welfare in 3 days. This guy, 40,000, but recently the flood, because in this one, in Selangor, the place habis jahanam for the flood. But again, he tried to restart again. So through this success story, I am so sure we all can do it. But find the right bait, right umpan, the right niche market. No way for us to do everything. We are not jack all the trade. We need to be specialized. There's so many. You can check on there's so many products. Melaka, the Red Cook, Melaka, Morton Melaka. These are actually already done and successful. We hope, please check it out how they do it, and I'm willing to assist you on how we can do it. So many. There was one, which one is it? There's one, this lady who got lost in Taman Negara for 21 days. Normally, if 3 days, habis lah, we do it. 21 days without food. And she managed to survive. So she just tell the story. And a lot of, then he sell Taman Negara package of that. So all these things, you have to find your own story. So many things. This is painting. This lady painting. Now she's venturing to NFT. NFT in the arts now is going to be very big. Okay, after that just now we did this. We already informed you on the virtual. We have done so many virtual B2B. We hope we're going to do international soon. And also, all these products need to be somewhere. So we have to put somewhere for inventory. There's no more for them to send email. That's manual. They have to make reservation, booking, confirmation on the spot. But at the moment now we do B2B, so that other agents can book to us through the systems. This one is supposed to have our own briefing shortly, but that lady kena COVID. I just got kena COVID, so she will be coming. That she's going to do a video step by steps. And later on, Dr. Nazir will explain a little bit, and later on we'll give you the video, step by steps. It's very important. As you know, everything is automated. You don't have to attend each one of bookings. All you have to do is to do PR. Everything is automated. Everything is already there in the system. You don't need to see whether the inventory is there, So using the system is very important. System, we call it B2B Max. So this is our future initiative. Once you are there, I'm going to invite you to the groups, free of charge. No need to have to pay anything. And we're going to explore all this B2B Max and national tourism policy. It's very important. It's just starting. A lot of things that been talked about under national tourism policy, which I think you can benefit it. And of course the NFT and Meta, now Facebook is using Metaverse and everything. We need to do that. So there's a picture. And I hope you can connect. You know my number. and also NFT, all right, and the cybercurrency. The end game is to have a direct market. That's the end game. I'm going to assist you on this. I hope that, not only now, keep on doing it, we can come on until you successfully penetrate the indirect market, direct consumers. We must have become a top 10. Just now we are not in top 10, no. Jangan rasa shock sendiri, Malaysia top 10. No, Malaysia is not top 10. So we need to we make sure everybody can work together to be top 10 and to attract high-end investment, so that we can prosper. In Malaysia, we can prosper for the tourism. That's the end game, our end game. We must have a great experience in the niche market. The system must be correct. Marketing is Queen control everything. Marketing is so Queen marketing, and the sales. What kind of platform? How do we automate this platform? How do we automate our business? It's very important. So these are directions that we're going to do it, and I hope you. This is my session, and I know anything ada yang benda-benda salah, let us know. This is just what I have told, I experienced, and I hope you get benefit of it. So with that, thank you very much for your attention and everything, and back to our MC. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Encik Zaidi, for the insightful information on the new tools and sales funnel for tourism. Ladies and gentlemen, before we continue with the next presentation by Dr. Razif Jamaluddin, we will break for 10 minutes, okay, and we start the next session at 11:05. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, we will continue our session with presentation by Dr. Muhammad Razif Jamaluddin, President Tourism Educators Association Malaysia, on the topic New Customer Expectations. Right after that, there will be an open dialogue session with all participants. Without further delay, please welcome Dr. Razif.
Assalamualaikum and good morning, everyone. So we are still in the morning. First of all, I would like to thank Mr. Yu, a very popular figure in Malaysia, especially in tourism sector, since the pandemic started. I think back in February or March 2020. Okay. So before I begin, let me introduce myself. My name is Razif Jamaluddin. You can call me Razif or Dr. Razif. And I always use my acronym DRJ, Dr. Razif Jamaluddin, and I am the president for Tourism Educators Association of Malaysia since 2020. Okay, so for today, I think it's very good a venue here for us to gather and also to exchange. I would like to, maybe if let's say it's possible for us to exchange ideas on what best for us to help or to grow, not to say to grow, to restart, to reset the tourism industry, because we are really in the difficult time. Like what mentioned by Mr. Yu just now, I followed like almost, not to say every talk, but like monthly talk by him, because, you know, he was one of the person who go to the ground, you know, to meet the person, to meet all of you, like myself, trying to be, you know, low profile at my office. But at the end of the day, Dr. Sri always call me, Doctor, you have to come to speak to the industry players, you have to speak, you have to share your knowledge. And I said, okay lah, I give a chance, I give a try and try to meet all of you. But today what we want to do today is try to revisit what we have learned. And before I started, before we get the ball rolling, can I see some faces who came from the industry? Who came from the academia. I saw 2 persons there from UMK. So anybody else who came from apart from AEU, only 2 of you. So because it is very important for us to, maybe you can also give your inputs to all of us, especially with the knowledge or the terminologies that I will show to you later. Okay, so actually when we started off this, we have been discussing of what best for us to make sure this certificate will become more meaningful to all of you. So that's why we thought that we can have sort of like the beginner, intermediate, and we go to the advanced level. So that's why for today, I'll try to keep my talk as what we planned. For example, the first one, we thought that we can finish by 45 minutes, and I think I cannot finish it by that time. Okay, so we will explore the current marketing trends by evaluating popular channels, approaches, strategies, and technology in the tourism industry. And I believe Mr. Yu just now already mentioned to you what were the latest development that already happened in the industry. Okay, let us try to revisit the first framework that I think all of you, So this one, we call it as the marketing mix, right? All of you know about this. Product, price, place, and promotion. And because nowadays we have to revisit, so we need to make it more elaborative, more comprehensive, more details. So what can we say about our product, or price, or place and promotion? And the marketing already expanded to become 7 P's. So they include people, process, physical evidence, and then, so now the most important thing is, can we say that the internal system explain every marketing mix? Because from what we have been learning just now, from what have been mentioned by Mr. Yu just now, only several key figures in the industry can explain about the tourism product in Malaysia. They can go out there, they can say so many good things about Malaysia, but can the rest of us become the ambassador for tourism products? So that you can also use your marketing tools. You can also use your TikTok, your IG to promote Malaysia on behalf. You have to become the ambassador. And then that is the internal ecosystem that comprised of the board of directors, the manager, the staff, and then the next one is the external ecosystem. Okay, must also understand. So meaning we want to communicate, but the external ecosystem, which comprised of the supplier, the customer, and also the investor, know about it. You know, they can gauge understanding of what the operators try to promote, try to deliver the product. So that's why I think I would say that this is the one of the very popular model by who's invented this? The what do you call it? Maslow hierarchy of theory. So that's why it's very important, and you have learned it like many times, right? We revisited this, and what we want to know now, because of we have to revisit. Nowadays we talk about why they travel. They travel because of they want to have self-belongingness or love needs. They want to spend time with their family and loved ones. And maybe after this, can we say that how can safety will disrupt the whole travel experience? So can we say that travel become the belongingness and love needs, or it become more esteem needs? So we have to revisit this, and I will explain about this in the next module. Okay, just now I mentioned about the 7 P's. If let's say I were to give you time for you to write down what are all of this, the product, the price, place, how can you elaborate all of this? What is product? What is place? Let us try to come to this again. Okay, number 1, product. When we talk about product, product is the content, features. You have to remember this. When you want to explain the product to the industry or to the customer, you have to explain the content of features. You just don't simply explain, you know Malaysia, you know we have food, you know we have this, you know we have dance. And then people claim, Indonesia claims satay came from them. Nasi lemak came from Singapore. Why? Because we cannot explain well the content or features of the product we have. And then we want it to be brand image. So we want to show that this came from Malaysia. This image originated from Malaysia. So that is really important, right? So the symbol. So we need to be original. We don't want to imitate or copy whatever had been done, invented by the West. So it must have this, Malaysia DNA. Or we call it the multiracial DNA. So what kind of colors that can represent that? Okay, and then the warranties, after sales. When you talk about the tourism, because when we buy tangible goods, right? You buy car, you buy phone. We always say that the most important thing is not only the product itself, but also the after-sales service. So that's why the Japanese car manufacturer thrived, because of they have lots of after-sales service centers, right? Unlike Korean, unlike continental car manufacturer. So that's why some people, they cannot penetrate Malaysian market due to that reason. And then quality. What is quality? People say quality is the eyes of the beholder, right? But we have to make sure we can explain the type of experiences, the type of services that you will consume or you will get. Okay, and then we go to price. Price. As easy as people say, okay, just put it 99.90. So that is psychological, right? What we have learned before this, when you want to measure about price, you measure about, okay, don't go 3 figures, only 2 figures. 50 ringgit, 90 ringgit, don't go up, don't go beyond 100 ringgit, right? So that what we have learned, that what we have been using for the time, for the lifetime, right? So now we have to change that a little bit. When you talk about price, you talk about comparative values. Let's say we always mention about the exchange values, right? So now we want to show to the world this after COVID-19, whenever you come to Malaysia, when you reach our shore, then you know our price is unmatchable, you know. You can only get this type of experiences if you go to Kelantan, you go to Terengganu, you go to Pahang with this value. If you go to the beach, then people would say, I get better when I go to the beach in Thailand or Indonesia as compared to Malaysia, because we cannot match them. You know, I remember, if I share with you, this one documentary about people in the West. After they finish their high school, they will always travel to Thailand. Why? Because the beer is cheap over there. So they can get about 1 month cost of beer at about 1 week. The value is comparatively 1 week in their country, in UK. So that's why they want to, you know, maybe they want to get high or whatever in Thailand. And then perception. Price also bring the perception, discount or bundle, as well as the most important thing is extension. This is important. Okay? So that's why I said, we cannot just simply say, okay, price is what we get for profit. Price will only benefit the company, because from pricing, you know how much you will get in profit, in the form of profit, monetary value. But it also brings, another important thing is comparative values. And then place. Place here means availability. So the efforts. So meaning when you station in that particular location, so meaning it must be available, and you have to put efforts, not only efforts to yourself, but also to the tourists to go to that particular location. And then the channels for them to arrive to that particular location. The accessibility. So that's why I said, when we talk about we have products, so that's why Indonesia have problems. They have lots of products in various locations. But one problem that cannot solve until now is the accessibility, is the transportation. From one end to the other end, you need about 1 day, right? So that's why only the most who have patience, especially to the older generation or the silver generation, will consume the products. But Malaysia, we don't have that issue. You can go from one end, from JB to Perlis, maybe within 1 day. Indonesia, you have to travel by plane. Okay, and then promotion. So this is what we want to talk more today, promotion. Because maybe we what do you call it? We have not doing justice, right, to this department. Why? Because of COVID-19. Because of people cannot travel. But now, it's the right time for us to revisit this promotion. So promotion is the marketing communication. When we talk about promotion, meaning communication. Meaning you have instilled sort of information to the market. You let the market knows about your existence. You let the market knows about the product that you have. So that's number one. And then the belongingness. We want them to feel belongingness. Why they visit Malaysia? Why they use your products? Why they go to that particular hotel? Right? Why they want to become the members of that particular hotel? So that kind of belongingness. So, okay, if let's say I ask you to come up with the rubrics, to come up with a checklist, can you rate yourself? So meaning the next step, maybe in the next courses, maybe we can have this kind of exercise. But today, because of time limitation, we cannot come through all of this. And then the segmentation. So this is important. Again, whenever we talk about promotion, we talk about marketing, we have to go back to this segmentation, targeting, and positioning. Especially after this pandemic over. Not to say that it will over very soon, but we will, maybe we will start with this new phase of life, the endemic phase. So that's why maybe it is the right time for us to look again, to re-look into this STP, segmentation, targeting, and positioning. And finally, the value propositioning. Value proposition, or some call unique selling proposition, USP. It's very popular terminology in marketing. And we always talk, some people use the word USP, some use VP, value proposition. it is interchangeable, but somehow, like myself, I prefer to use this word, value propositioning, value proposition. So what kind of value? So meaning value is quantifiable, something that measurable. When they visit Malaysia, what kind of value that they will get? When they visit KL, Selangor, when they use your products, your services, your package, tour, whatever, they know the value. People, especially during this pandemic, people is very important. So we must have the ambassador. So this is why these skincare, right? Skincare very thriving business model where they use their owner to become the ambassador of the product. So that kind of business model. But here in this tourism industry, so can we say that we have this ambassador, spokesperson, endorser, like we use Mr. Yu to become one of the spokesperson for the industry players, to talk with people outside there. So we must identify the right key person. So that's really critical. And then the employees, your employees must have the DNA, Malaysian hospitality. We talk about Malaysian hospitality. Just now, Mr. Yu talked about when you go to Thailand, they have this kind of sawadika, very, Thailand hospitality, everybody is very popular around the world. And then Indonesia also have that kind of hospitality or that kind of culture, hospitality culture. But Malaysia, so even, I would say that maybe we have, all of us here, so we come to conclusion that we cannot offer hospitality. We cannot match the hospitality offered by Thailand or Indonesia. But what kind of, how can we you try to convince people this, we put this aside. We have other important or other qualities that you won't get in other part of the world. Okay? And then the culture, the work. People here means the culture, the work ethics, and the social life. So that's why sometimes, people, they don't want to buy the products because of they know the social life of the people. They know their, their outside behavior. So that is something that we also have to try to look into after this pandemic. And personification. This is one of another thing. Maybe have you heard about the word personification? Pernah dengar tak? Nampak macam apa? Sound very technical, right? Not really technical. Personification means how can the product have the person, human character. So something like this, personification. For example, when you go to Hard Rock Hotel, Hard Rock, chic, rugged, right? So that's why the people who work there wear jeans, even the housekeeping, you always say that housekeeping, you must have proper cover all of your body, right? But when you go to Hard Rock, you know that kind of, the personality that they want to offer, so you don't mind. If you receive housekeeper, don't cover their body that, unlike other other hotel companies. And then process. Process here refers to deliverables. That is the most important thing. The promises. Process means promise. So when you talk about this, when you talk about the product, you talk about promise that you have. You need to update the buying process, especially during this pandemic. So they buy the product that you have, but also they must know what kind of the obstacle that they will undergo or that they will face when they visit Malaysia starting from April 1st. So that is important. Sometimes we will say that is not our problem. When you want to visit Malaysia, you have to know. But somehow we can help because we promised them to have, a very mesmerizing, very, what the right word to use when you come to visit Malaysia? Memorable experience when you visit Malaysia. So that's why we need to keep our promises. And then, wow factor, the latest technology. So we have to use the latest technology. So like nowadays, for example, we need to understand generation, we call it, we have generation X, Y, Z, and now Alpha, right? Baby Alpha. And people call it not baby Alpha, we call it generation Zoomers. Zoomers, right? They learn through what do you call it? This platform, online platform, generation Zoomers. So they love to get the information from TikTok. Sometimes I also be surprised that the secondary school love to exchange ideas in what do you call it? Twitter, as compared to IG. So this kind of thing that we have to know. How can we attack? And then R&D. Involve the customer. So how can we make sure that we involve them? We want to know how can we serve them better, well in the future. So involve them in this process and make known to the public. And finally, the physical evidence. So this one is, I think, everybody knows how important is the packaging, and then it must be tangible, something that people can see, people can touch, people can hold. And then service quality, this is one of the important for the academician, one of the popular dimension of popular model, service quality by Parasuraman et al., or we call it RATER, I use the RATER, responsiveness, assurance, tangibility, empathy, and reliability. And then eWOM, online reviews and feedback. It's very important, like I showed to you later, after this. Okay, for example, before this, Boeing have this kind of, pride. If it ain't Boeing, I'm not going, before this. Because when you want to travel, you know you will have comfortable flight, safety flight when you travel with Boeing, not Airbus. And because of the incident, the B737 MAX, crash between 6 months, then their image tarnished. So what happened? They don't really solve the problems, but they don't want to, they try to keep the problems in the management. So they don't really go and meet the victims, or maybe the waris kan. What they do is they try to find all the key people inside the organization and try to keep their mouth shut. You can read, you can learn all of that, you can understand more when you read try to watch this new baru Netflix. Ada dah tengok tak? Downfall, the case of Boeing. Kat Netflix, I dah tengok lah. So that's why I can share with you. It's very interesting story. How the brand is so powerful, and suddenly, they sell Boeing 5,000 Boeing 737 MAX. Dia boleh lawan Airbus A330 Neo. But just a simple, a simple adjustment, modification to the oldest model. Okay, and then for the Apple, think different. And these are all the brand promises from Nike. Can you see here? If you can see here, to bring inspiration and innovation to every athlete in the world. Walmart, Visa, for example, Disney, to be the world leading producer and provider of entertainment and information. So meaning, when you want to give promise, your promise must be measurable. Something that is objective and also measurable. If you look at all of this, for example, like McDonald's, to be the world's best quick service restaurant and experience. So quick service and experience. So you can see, the similarities of all the message that they delivered, or the promises that they delivered to their customers. Okay, for example, JW Marriott. Most hotels train their people with booklets. We take ours to the belly, something like that. So meaning how they want to show to the world that they go through this process. They take to the another level. Okay, and then the most important thing is to matching needs. We will go to the needs afterwards. Just now I mentioned about the motivation by Maslow. Okay, so product market. We initiate product because we want to sell in the market, or we know the market needs the product. Okay, which means matching the product with the market to satisfy the needs. So a product market is the set of product judged to be substitutes. So meaning, when you have the product, it must have the benefits and the usage. Okay, remember that. Okay, so this is what we want to offer. So we know the needs from the industry, especially after this pandemic, especially when we reopen the border in April 1st. Okay, we see the light at the end of tunnel, like what mentioned by Mr. Yu just now. So how can I shed some lights to you? So that's what the reason I'm here is to shed some lights. Okay, and then, so we know the needs from the market, and then the features that we have, we try to, this is important, to give the benefit, needs meet feature. Okay, so again, if we can go back to the drawing board and try to list potential needs for the tourists, customer, patrons, and what kind of characteristics or features of the product that we can offer, or we can give the value proposition to them. For example, Kotler, I refer, many of my slides today, I refer to Kotler because he is the father of marketing. And he coined this, or he developed this based on series of workshops. So he said that, so we have about 5 matching needs, starting from potential products to core benefit. You can read from, maybe you can go through here. The core benefit is the fundamental benefit. It's why, that is why I call it the mission statement, the purpose of existence, the business model to satisfy customer needs and demand, to maximize satisfaction. And then number 2, basic product, the generic, contain necessary attributes, features that serve the function. Number 3, expected product. So we know from the basic product, we can give this, we can promise the expected product, and then augmented product, and finally, potential product, aims to surprise. So maybe it's quite difficult to understand this, right? Very difficult. So I try to find the example, I managed to get one. And here, sorry, very small. This is how the banyan tree, how to pronounce it? Banyan, right? Am I pronouncing the right way? Okay, banyan tree. Because never stayed there, very expensive. So not my ni lah. Bukan saya punya ni lah. Brand lah. Okay. So the core benefit for banyan tree is a place, is a room to sleep. Okay, you refer here. So it's very small. Later we can share the slide. Okay, you can read. Travelers traveling a long distance away from homes, so they need a place to stay. So that's what banyan try to give the products, try to match the product to the needs. And then generic product. So meaning, when you go to the hotel, you will get bed, washroom, pillows, blanket, shower kit, working lights, or whatever. That is the generic products. So meaning, you go to other industries or other companies, you will get the same products. That's generic. And then, expected level, clean bed sheet, decorated rooms, branded shower kits, because you pay very high to stay in banyan tree, so you expect that kind of services. And then augmented level, individual villa, flower petals, and bed, lit candles, after room makeup, personal pool and jacuzzi, so this kind of thing. And finally, potential products, loyalty program, send thanking letter to homes, preparing personal letters. So usually we go up until this augmented level. But sometimes you go to a certain extent, you can provide more. Okay? So this is an example. You can try to, maybe we can go back to the drawing board and try to, list everything, list all of this, and match with a product that we have. Okay. Thailand. Let's try to look into Thailand. People, when we talk about Thailand, we always talk about people go to Thailand to go to the beach, Phuket, Bangkok because of, they have the nightclub, and then very cheap. And I'm not sure what is the, why people go to Thailand is very difficult because different people will have different interpretation, right? But somehow they love Thailand. They love culture. Why we go to Thailand? Anybody here go to Thailand before? I would say like almost every, I would say leader in this room have gone to Thailand before, including myself. So why we go to Thailand? Why people from the West not go to Malaysia? Why they go to Thailand? Why they go to Indonesia? Why not Malaysia? That is the question. Okay, during this pandemic, they use this BCG. BCG here refer to biocircular. C stands for, bioeconomy. C, circular economy, and G, green economy. And the interesting part of this is that when they use this new policy, almost every, the marketing tools and the academician in Thailand make a study of this, the feasibility of BCG, how aware of people, tourists for BCG. So meaning it is transpired. So meaning all of the stakeholders agree with this. So they know that this will be success, a huge success to them. So you can get this, it is very small here. So 13 measures to drive Thailand's BCG economy. So meaning they want to start thinking of a new destination, far from city center, far off city center. So because when people go to Thailand, people always go to Bangkok, Phuket. But they want to let people to immerse with the products in other parts of Thailand. Okay? If I can read from you, for example, develop big data and then replenish the country's national resources through carbon credit market. So this one you can get easily from the internet. But what I want to share with you is that they have a slightly different strategy. So meaning it's not like the similar strategy that they used before pandemic. So because after pandemic, the world will have a new way, we call it as a new norm. And people coin the word new norm, right? So what kind of new norm in our tourism industry? So that kind of thing. So can we say that we want to rely again to the Chinese market? No, right? Can we rely on Chinese market? By right, yes, but the Chinese government does not allow their people to travel. Maybe until end of this year. But we hope that, I contact my friend in China and I said, when your government will allow the citizen to go out? They said, maybe the best case scenario, 6 months after the winter games over. So winter game just concluded, right? So maybe 6 months after that. Why? Because they have cases. If you read the news, right, due to the winter games, the cases must go up to normal. When you have people gather in the public areas, definitely cases will go up. So they want to solve that first. They already anticipated. After winter games, there will be cases, a spike of cases. And maybe 6 months after that, maybe until end of this year. We in Malaysia rely so much, about 3 million Chinese travelers. One of the biggest ones after Singapore. Singapore 10 million, Mr. Yu mentioned just now. Singapore 10 million, 53% came from Singapore. And then after that, China, and then Indonesia, and then Thailand. So we know a big chunk of the travelers came from China, but we cannot attract them. Okay, Thailand, again. Not only Malaysia, Thailand, Indonesia also rely so much on Chinese segment. So what Thailand did, you can go to their YouTube, even though I don't say that the YouTube is success, no. If you look through all the videos, not so many views. Meaning, not really popular, not really a tool that the tourists prefer. But somehow, it's a good start. Why? Because people can easily share, easily download from this. For example, This is one of the video that I took from their site.
การท่องเที่ยวแห่งประเทศไทยได้นำรูปแบบเศรษฐกิจ BCG มาสนับสนุนการท่องเที่ยวอย่างยั่งยืนและกระจายประโยชน์จากการท่องเที่ยวไปยังชุมชนต่างๆเศรษฐกิจแบบ BCG ผสมผสานแนวคิดเศรษฐกิจชีวภาพเศรษฐกิจหมุนการท่องเที่ยวแห่งประเทศไทยได้นำรูปแบบเศรษฐกิจ BCG มาสนับสนุนการท่องเที่ยวอย่างยั่งยืนและกระจายประโยชน์จากการท่องเที่ยวไปยังชุมชนต่างๆเศรษฐกิจแบบ BCG ผสมผสานแนวคิดเศรษฐกิจชีวภาพเศรษฐกิจหมุนเวียนและเศรษฐกิจสีเขียวโดยต่อยอดจากจุดแข็งของประเทศไทยที่มีความหลากหลายทางชีวภาพและความร่ำรวยทางวัฒนธรรมมาสร้างการเติบโตแบบยั่งยืนในฐานะตัวขับเคลื่อนหลักด้านธุรกิจการท่องเที่ยวและอุตสาหกรรมหลักอื่นๆของประเทศไทยได้นำรูปแบบเศรษฐกิจ BCG มาใช้โดยททท.นำแนวคิด BCG มาเริ่มใช้ส่งเสริมการท่องเที่ยวในกลุ่มการท่องเที่ยวเชิงอาหาร
BCG Model นะเป็นแนวทางที่เรียกว่าสอดคล้องกับการพัฒนาการท่องเที่ยวไปสู่การเป็น Sustainable Tourism อย่างเป็นรูปธรรมเลยวิธีการที่เราจะ apply มาสำหรับการส่งเสริมการท่องเที่ยวไม่ยากฮะเราก็เอาแนวคิดนี้มาใช้ในการคัดสรรสินค้าและบริการที่ถูกพัฒนาภายใต้ BCG Model หรือว่า BCG Concept ตัวอย่างที่ง่ายที่สุดตอนนี้ก็คือการต่อยอดเรื่องของ Gastronomy Tourism โดยการเอาวัตถุดิบอินทรีย์เนี่ยมาเป็นส่วนหนึ่งของการเล่าเรื่องแทนที่เราจะเล่าเรื่องเฉพาะความอร่อยของอาหารความหายากของวัตถุดิบที่เป็นอาหารถิ่นนะคะหรือว่าสรรพคุณด้านสมุนไพรมันจะมีการเล่าเรื่องของตัวเกษตรกรที่ผันตัวเองจากการใช้ปุ๋ยนะคะมาทำเกษตรอินทรีย์จนกระทั่งความรู้สึกที่เขามีต่อการรักสิ่งแวดล้อมจะถูกถ่ายทอดจากผู้ผลิตนะคะต้นน้ำไปจนถึงกลางน้ำแล้วก็ปลายน้ำค่ะแล้วผู้บริโภครู้สึกว่าคุณได้เป็นส่วนหนึ่งของการช่วยขับเคลื่อนอุปสงค์ของการดูแลรักษาสิ่งแวดล้อมผ่านอาหารจานเดียวค่ะ
ททท.ร่วมกับหน่วยงานภาครัฐชุมชนท้องถิ่นและผู้เชี่ยวชาญในอุตสาหกรรมพัฒนาโครงการต่างๆเพื่อส่งเสริมการท่องเที่ยวในท้องถิ่นล่าสุดททท.ส่งเสริมการท่องเที่ยววิถีอินทรีย์สู่ตลาดต่างประเทศนักท่องเที่ยวจากต่างประเทศได้มาเยี่ยมชมแปลงเกษตรอินทรีย์ในจังหวัดภูเก็ตและพบว่าเกาะแห่งนี้มีอะไรให้นักท่องเที่ยวได้สัมผัสมากกว่าชายหาดที่สวยงามภูเก็ตเป็นแหล่งการท่องเที่ยวแบบวิถีอินทรีย์ที่พร้อมมอบประสบการณ์การท่องเที่ยวเชิงอาหารผู้เข้าชมได้เรียนรู้จากแปลงปลูกพืชผสมผสานว่าคนไทยใช้สมุนไพรและพืชเป็นอาหารและยานอกจากนี้พวกเขายังสามารถใช้แอปพลิเคชันบนโทรศัพท์มือถือตรวจสอบที่มาของผลิตภัณฑ์และอาหารอินทรีย์ได้อีกด้วยอย่างไรก็ตามการท่องเที่ยววิถีอินทรีย์มีความหมายมากกว่าการเยี่ยมชมแปลงเกษตรอินทรีย์ททท.และพันธมิตรเช่นสมาคมผู้บริโภคอินทรีย์ไทยเปิดตัวแพลตฟอร์มเกษตรอินทรีย์โทกาเพื่อเชื่อมโยงเกษตรกรที่ทำเกษตรอินทรีย์กับกลุ่มลูกค้าก้าวเล็กๆของสามพรานโมเดลกลายเป็นก้าวเดินที่มั่นคงต่อไปของสมาคมผู้บริโภคอินทรีย์ไทยโมเดลที่ประสบความสำเร็จเปรียบเสมือนขั้นบันไดให้สมาคมได้ก้าวต่อไปโทกาซึ่งใช้เทคโนโลยีบล็อกเชนเพื่อสร้างเครือข่ายสมาร์ทฟาร์มเมอร์มีเกษตรกรอินทรีย์เป็นสมาชิกกว่า 4,000 รายทั่วประเทศไทยรวมถึงภูเก็ตเครือข่ายได้ช่วยส่งเสริมการท่องเที่ยววิถีอินทรีย์ด้วยสินค้าอินทรีย์การเยี่ยมชมฟาร์มและประสบการณ์ดีๆจากอาหาร
สามพันโมเดลเป็นโมเดลธุรกิจเกื้อกูลสังคมนะครับที่เป้าหมายเนี่ยก็คือขับเคลื่อนสู่สังคมอินทรีย์นะฮะที่เราจะมีการเชื่อมโยงตลอดห่วงโซ่อาหารตั้งแต่ต้นน้ำกลางน้ำปลายน้ำนะครับขับเคลื่อนโดยมูลนิธิสังคมสุขใจเรามีการทำงานกับกลุ่มเกษตรกรนะครับปรับเปลี่ยนจากที่เขาเคยพึ่งพาสารเคมีมาทำเกษตรอินทรีย์แล้วเราก็เชื่อมโยงเขากับผู้ประกอบการกับผู้บริโภคใครที่สนใจที่จะมาบริโภคอาหารอินทรีย์นะครับหรือใช้วัตถุดิบอินทรีย์ไปแปรรูปนะครับอยู่บนฐานของการค้าที่เป็นธรรมในการขับเคลื่อนของสามพรานโมเดลเนี่ยการท่องเที่ยวนี่จริงๆเป็นเครื่องมือสำคัญนะครับในการที่จะมาใช้ขับเคลื่อนตรงนี้แล้วเราก็เรียกการท่องเที่ยวตรงนี้ว่าการท่องเที่ยววิถีอินทรีย์นะครับเพราะว่าการท่องเที่ยวตรงนี้เนี่ยมันเป็นการที่ผู้บริโภคเนี่ยนะครับสามารถที่จะมาเข้าใจนะครับการเชื่อมโยงระหว่างผู้ผลิตคือเกษตรกรเนี่ยกับผู้ประกอบการ นะครับที่เขามามีส่วนร่วมกัน แล้วก็ที่ให้ผู้บริโภคเนี่ยเข้ามามีส่วนร่วมได้แล้วถึงมีการซื้อขายกันครับนักท่องเที่ยวที่ได้เข้ามามีส่วนร่วมในการท่องเที่ยววิถีอินทรีย์เนี่ยนะครับนอกจากที่เขาจะได้เรื่องสุขภาพแล้วเพราะเขาได้มาบริโภคนะครับอาหารอินทรีย์นะครับหรือได้มาซื้อสินค้าเขาก็ได้มีส่วนร่วมในการรักษาสิ่งแวดล้อมนะครับแล้วก็ได้มีส่วนร่วมในการเกื้อกูลสังคมด้วยนะครับนับได้ว่าเนี่ยเขาได้มีส่วนร่วมในการสร้างการเปลี่ยนแปลงในห่วงโซ่อาหารเลยครับ
โมเดลเศรษฐกิจ BCG กำลังกำหนดเส้นทางการพัฒนาอุตสาหกรรมท่องเที่ยวอย่างรับผิดชอบและยั่งยืน โดยไม่กระทบต่อสิ่งแวดล้อมและวัฒนธรรม
จริงการท่องเที่ยววิถีอินทรีย์เนี่ยจริงๆก็มีส่วนคล้ายคลึงและมีอะไรที่คล้ายกับการท่องเที่ยวอย่างยั่งยืนอย่างมากนะครับเพราะว่าจริงๆแล้วเป้าหมายเนี่ยคือเป้าหมายเดียวกันก็คือเรื่องความยั่งยืนนี่ความยั่งยืนก็คือว่าการที่ทุกคนในห่วงโซ่อาหารเนี่ยเข้ามามีส่วนร่วมเป็นพาร์ทเนอร์กันนะครับแล้วก็มาขับเคลื่อนกันบนฐานของการค้าที่เป็นธรรมนะฮะแล้วก็ไม่ทำลายสิ่งแวดล้อมมีการกระจายผลประโยชน์นะครับนักท่องเที่ยวนะครับได้สามารถมามีส่วนร่วมในการสนับสนุนให้เกษตรกรเนี่ยเขาได้ปรับเปลี่ยนวิถีชีวิตจากที่เขาเคยพึ่งพาสารเคมีเนี่ยมาทำเกษตรอินทรีย์เพราะฉะนั้นเนี่ยเขาก็ได้ช่วยให้เกษตรกรเนี่ยไม่มีสารเคมีที่จะทำให้สิ่งแวดล้อมเสียหายนะครับและนักท่องเที่ยวเองก็ได้พัฒนาเป็นนักท่องเที่ยวที่มีความรับผิดชอบต่อสิ่งแวดล้อมและสังคมนะฮะหรือเป็น responsible tourist มีส่วนร่วมในการขับเคลื่อนการท่องเที่ยววิถีอินทรีย์นะฮะซึ่งนี่ก็จะเหมือนกับการท่องเที่ยวแบบยั่งยืนนะครับ
Okay, this one is shared. Okay, so at the end of the day, when just now the video was shared by one of the speakers during the webinar organized by Dr. Sri, I think with this iPortal last year. So we call this one professor from Thailand, and she shared about the initiative by the government, by the TAT, Thai tourism, something like that. I'm not sure the full name. And then, so that's really important. So meaning because urban tourism and also beach tourism is one of the, what I call it, established for many years. They don't really worry about that. But now what kind of initiative that they can do to help spread the positivity, the values of sustainability, responsibility, and what we call it just now, we started, if you remember, after this we will discuss about the, what do you call it, revenge tourism, and suddenly changed to slow tourism. Why suddenly change? So we can see, this unpredictable of the world situation that need immediate changes, not only from the world governing bodies, but also from all of us here, especially to all of you, the leaders in this industry, okay? So that's why I would say this kind of initiative must be done here in Malaysia. So we need this kind of discussion. Let's say, just now, I heard, eavesdropping, Mr. Yuyu talked with my friend from Kelantan. So you want to have the kind of products. So actually there are lots of values or lots of products that can be done over there. That's why I said, so this kind of thing, like what have been done, no harm. If you go to Thailand, go to that particular village to learn more about it, to learn their experience, how they started off. Okay, and that's why the brand architecture nowadays, we have to revisit for my final slide for the first module. So the most important thing is to start developing. So the word new, promise, value proposition, or the STP, segmentation, targeting, and positioning strategies. So meaning if you, if you are still in the status quo, that means you will left behind. So we need to become more, energetic, something like that. We have to ensure that we will become a new players, even though the same company, but a new outlook, right? A new appearance, and then penetrate It's the same word over and over again. We use the same word. We don't want to use the bombastic word, you know, to bombard you with all the bombastic words. We use the same words, develop, penetrate, so plan, execute, monitor, and revise. It's not only to plan and execute, but also to monitor and revise about especially the numbers, the figures, the growth, the trend, the number of arrivals, like what mentioned by Mr. Yuyu just now about this LITB, Langkawi International Travel Bubble. Only 40 per day, 439 days, right? So that kind of percentage that we have to, analyze, and we will see whether we need to be bold enough to say, is it success or failure? And then we have to revise. Okay? And then the competitive analysis and trust and loyalty. Remember, we have to instill trust, confidence, and also the most important thing is to make them become loyal. Yes, it's very seldom we get a same travelers visited us twice. Usually, but the most important thing is we want them to spread the positive word of mouth to their immediate friends or family members. And finally, diversify, tap, untap. Try to find the underserved market. So meaning the market that is not really well served by the players. We heard about this inferior or superior products, right? Maybe we have lots of inferior products, but we have lack of superior products. So we want to tap that products. The products that is more to the silver generation. What we have so far may be more to the, backpackers, right? Budget travelers or backpackers. And then redirect, use different channel or intermediaries. And like what mentioned by Yuyu just now, don't use intermediaries at all. So have to change a little bit. So need to be more, more pragmatic. Okay, that's all for my first one. I know it's very tough for you to digest everything, right? So maybe we can have about 1 or 2 minutes for you to try to digest, try to process before we go to the next one. Is there any question? Maybe I can take just one question. Semua serius? Kenapa serius lah? Takut lah? Maybe the responsibility that you will do after this. Kau dekat dalam YouTube tak serius, tengah makan kot. Saya tengah bercakap dengan orang dalam YouTube. Dia tengah makan, tengah minum kopi dalam tu. Teruskan. Bukan dengan you all. Okay. So actually I have 3 modules that I prepared just for you. Prepare over weekend ni. Ke mana nak dapat supaya can benefit. Tapi boleh cover 2 saja. Timing dia very limited. Tak apalah, I try to cover. Let me see which one is more important. I just go by the flow lah. So this one module 2 that I have. Okay, customers. Okay, this is very important lah because the customers might change. So the way we have to treat them might need to be, slightly changed. Need to amend our strategies. We need to send our staff for maybe training for the customer service. We are not sure because people will be more sensitive after this pandemic. Don't say, why you don't wear mask? Wah, you know what sorts of incidents we say that sometimes are very, macam pelik. People don't wear mask at the public. People will have lots of excuses not to observe the safety protocol. Lots of excuses, lame excuses, but somehow we have to treat them right. So that's what had been done by Bali tourism, something like government. So during this pandemic, every day they conduct a training just to see the clearance, immigration clearance, every day, twice a day, morning and afternoon session. So to see how smooth is the immigration clearance for the past 6 months, up until now, every day, without fail, because they want to reopen. But yet, until now, not yet reopen. And even though yesterday they have this MotoGP, but again, that's still for the domestic tourists. Okay, so for this one, we try to explore the current societal and consumer behavioral marketing concepts, try to evaluate the progress of consumer behavioral research, and we want to create potential tourism outlook post-COVID-19. Okay. Okay, now, I'm sure all of you know about this, right? Just now, I showed to you the motivational hierarchy by Maslow, developed in 1954, if I'm not mistaken. And then, so we know that people will have needs, necessary. We need food, right? Once you establish specific requirement, usually I eat at 12 p.m. But today I have to skip that because you have to listen to my talk. So you have your wants, meaning you establish I only eat rice, I only eat Western. Needs, you hungry, you want to eat, right? Wants, okay, now I want to become healthy, slim, on diet mission. So healthy food only, wants. Demands, you insist on decision making because you have the ability to pay. Okay? So people have this kind of thing. So we cannot treat all people similar. So people have different, even though we know everybody have the same needs, but they might have different wants and different demands. Can we stop until there? Can you suggest any more? The higher level. Anybody here can establish, can what do you call it? Maybe can suggest any more, any higher level than this. After demands, what else after demands? Dah dengar tak, my friend from UMK? Apa lagi selepas? What do you think? After demands, apa lagi kita boleh cari? Can we stop until there? Can we say that, okay, we are happy that we know the tourists will only have demands. They will demand food or they will demand cultural activities. Yes, please. Create demand. No, the higher level after that. Creating the demand, stimulating the demand. Okay. Nice try. Thank you. Any more? Any other? Satisfaction. So that is the outcome. Satisfaction is the outcome. Okay, we will cover that also later. Okay. So because we thought that people will only have demand, they demand for the either luxury products or because usually we have jet setter or budget traveler, right? So now we say that they will demand high-end or lower-end products. But can we agree on this potential extension? That after the demand, they will request products. When I visit Malaysia after this pandemic, after you reopen your border on April 1st, I would like to request specific product for my family only. I don't want to share with others. It's only for me. It's only for my group. Okay? Because they seek for better alternative. Okay, can we agree on that? Yeah. Okay, then, desire, not only request, they desire to feel pleasure. So with the group, they desire to feel pleasure. You know, only in Malaysia they will get this because you entertain my request and I have this kind of desire and then they will get that. And then wishes, sense of fulfilling. So meaning sometimes we have a dream, right? Why you want to go to Paris? For honeymoon. If you go to Paris, then you fulfill your wish. Since childhood, Maybe people will want to visit Malaysia because of they want to visit Batu Caves. Because it's the most popular temple in the world, especially in India. Right? Cabut India saja, oh Batu Cave, Batu Cave. I went to India 2019 to share with you a little bit. Because they know that Malaysia have a most popular temple in the world, Batu Cave tu. Seminggu I travel, hari-hari pergi temple. Hari-hari I pergi temple. Walaupun macam orang kata salah lah kan. Tapi somehow, what can I do kan? Dekat Southern, Tiruchirappalli, all the great temple semua saya dah masuk. Pergi Rameshwaram. Malaysia pun tak nak pergi Rameshwaram. I dah sampai Rameshwaram. They have this one bridge, ada train lalu bawah tu. Angin kuat. And then dipanggil macam holy lah, macam Mekah lah. Holy places dekat India. So because of that reason, so they thought that I also interested. I also interested to visit temple because oh Malaysia, Batu Caves, Indonesia, the first day sampai ke Malaysia, esok dia buat apa? First Batu Cave, then Genting Highland. Itu pasti. Untuk Gen Y and Zoomers or Alpha. Itu saya dah tengok because I had also in charge on student exchange. That kind of behavior that I found from Indonesia. Sampai hari ni malam, esok saya tanya pergi mana? Batu Cave, Genting Highland because memang same route kan. Okay, so that kind of thing. So now, the question is, by right we stop here, right? Demands. But now, why customers have unfulfilled demand? Why we have to extend this framework to wishes? We want to fulfill their wish, right? And then what drives them to have a sense of fulfillment, right? Especially after this pandemic, after we can travel, I bet all of us here have not yet traveled. So maybe all of us here we have already planned, right? You have planned one destination you want to go after you maybe the government allow us to travel starting from 1st April. But what kind of fulfillment that you have? You have to ask yourself, and also you need to think about what kind of fulfillment from people outside our country. And then the most important thing is how can marketers fill the gap? We understand that the gap is there, but we want to fill it. Okay, we want to change. The relationship goal, right? With friend, we want to be BFF, best friend forever. But how about the goal with the customer? So we want to change from transactional to relational. Transaction means they just go and buy. Like when we go to the counter, right? Just go, buy. Go to the bank. No relationship. For example, transactional, over the counter, online order, use OTA, mobile apps, use Traveloka, Agoda. You want to change that to using phone, website, or the company's app. Let's say you have the app, they will use your particular app, not the OTA app. From viewers to become subscribers, followers, or contributors. We need to change that kind of relationship goal. Okay, but before that, what we can do is, we need to analyze the expectation. What kind of expectation that the future customer or travelers have. So the decision-making process, because nowadays, people when they want to travel, they will see the most important thing, the word just now mentioned by Dato' Ansari, safe, right? It's not only safe for health, but also the safe procedures and also safe transactions. Because nowadays, maybe you will see a new way of, bargaining, selling, upselling. You want to be safe. You don't want to be cheated, involved in fraudulent or whatever. Okay? And then examine the prior experience. and then define the company ability to serve the customer. Because of you want to change, right? From transactional to relational, and then you have to discuss the potential to upgrade the service. So just now, you also mentioned the word upselling and plan to add value during the actual experience. So this one had been mentioned by Kotler just now. We want to give element, we want to inject the element of surprise. They don't expect that. When they visit Malaysia, they always, because after 2 years with no international travelers, people already forgot, right, what we have in Malaysia. What kind of experience? Can the experience before the pandemic valid to be shared with others? Can people have visited Malaysia in 2019 and then they shared with their friends, Malaysia have this, Malaysia, you will have problems with this, tout or whatever. Is it similar incidents can happen again, right? So we want to inject the element of surprise. Okay, for example, contributors, I mentioned just now. So this is one of the hotel in Hong Kong. Something that why I share with you because of I really want to visit this hotel, but not yet materialized. 5-star rating, excellent rating. It's not best, but it's the best of the best in the world. It's the Icon Hotel in Hong Kong, actually. It's the training hotel in Hong Kong. So you can see lots of 5-star rating. When you read through, and not only that, is that the guests will explain. Guests explain on behalf of the hotel the type of experiences that they experienced during their stay here. You can read. Just go and try key in, enter the keyword in the TripAdvisor, and now the system, the new way of this type of interaction, you need to, usually the GM or the director of human resource or marketing will respond. So this kind of thing. Have you done that? So that's the question, because you want to be close to your clients, to your customers. And you can see, in Malaysia also we have several products, for example like Datai, Dana, Langkawi, and several others, St. Regis. So people have this kind of experience, 5-star rating lah. Okay. So this kind of thing lah. Okay, for example, again, we look into this. Relational against, we talk about local food, price and quantity. So how can you put this between baby boomers, Gen X and Gen Z? Where can you fit them, ataupun you want to place them in this graph? Can we say that baby boomers, if we give them high price and high quality, they become relational? You agree with me? Or the Generation Z, if we give low price, high quality, they will become. So can you say that? Or can you agree with me if, like, say, I put like this? Baby boomers don't really mind on the price, but they need more on quality of the food, the interaction or whatever. So they will have, more loyalty to the company. For example, for Generation Z, they don't really care as long as they get high, low price that fit their expenditure punya apa? Inilah. Or let's look into other. Let's change the parameter or denominator. For example, sorry, actually this one is good, but maybe because of this one use portrait, apa? Rectangle, kita guna rectangle, but here guna square. Maybe that's why the change of this, the format. Okay, for example, just now I mentioned about this local food. Price and quality. And let's look into price and quantity. So maybe they don't really care. Maybe Generation Z, if they pay low but get more quantity, they become happier, loyal. And for this one, self-expression, viral, viral, something like this. If you put the price, usually viral food ni quite expensive, kan? Tapi dia tak relational. Price tinggi, but in terms of self-expression tu, not really high. So that's why we want it to be like this. We want to position our product like this. So they don't really mind on the y-axis and x-axis. They will feel happier. Okay, Indonesia, for example. Indonesia, the tourism centered around Bali, surrounding island or Jakarta. And then, just now I mentioned about the lack of infrastructure and accessibility, land or air. And that's why, so now they are trying to catch up. So by instilling more, development in IT, because they know that they cannot change everything in infrastructure and accessibility. So what they can offer is the IT development. And then, so for this after COVID-19, what they propose is this, again, like Thailand, BCG. In Indonesia, CHSE, Clean, Health, Safety and Environmental Sustainability. So you can see the same trend of looking at sustainability. Okay, that's why changing trend in tourism. Tourism before this, Malaysia especially, we always talk about shopping. We are the shopping heaven, shopping destination, medical destination in the world. Because before this, lots of the discussion or lots of model in tourism centered around urban tourism. Right, you agree with me, cultural. So that's why usually we want to look into the under capacity. So meaning we want to ensure that when we have the capacity, it must be fully utilized. And then incentive in the form of loan or tax exemption. But now, maybe after this pandemic over, or maybe after 1st of April, what we can see is more on commodity-based. Wellness and sustainable, already demonstrated by our neighbor in Thailand and Indonesia. And then accessibility and gas emission, like mentioned by Prof. Dato' Ansari just now. Heritage. Right, we want to tell story, like what mentioned by BCG just now. It's not only the product, but how to source the product. They want to show to the tourists how they prepare, right? How they plant tree, how they grow them, who grow them, who made the product. So that kind of thing, right? That kind of interaction. And then over tourism. So we want to start thinking of how can we minimize this. Maybe this what we call it COVID-19 is something like we have silver lining, because we can get away of this over tourism. And then incentive. Nowadays, not only in the form of loan or tax exemption, but more on the grants, matching grants or soft loan. So that kind of thing. So meaning that's what the destination have to do. Like for example, you know about the new grant, Grant Budaya, Grant Pembudayaan by Ministry Motek. So you know why? You know why they have to offer that? Actually, for your information, I also became dia panggil apa? Macam AJK, Committee for Public Event by Motek. So the problem when they have this kind of public event is when we conduct event, what is the most important thing that we look? Apa kita tengok? Amai cakap, even though we talk about cultural integration, racial integration or whatever, but at the end of the day, what most important to us is ROI, return on investment of holding the event. So what happened during this pandemic, when you organize the event, usually local, dia tak stay dekat hotel. Dia datang balik hari. Dia tak makan. Misalnya dia tahu dah makanan dia mungkin dia makan kat rumah nantilah. Kan, datang pun naik kereta sendiri, tak pakai public transport. Kan? So that's why return investment tu very low. So they need, actually we need international to fill in that. For example, for local who pay around 200 per event, international might pay 1,500 because they have to stay in the hotel, They will pay for the food. They will buy local products. So they pay about 1,500 and 300. When you lump all together, then you will get more ROI. So that's why international travelers is really important. So I would say that to all of you here, if you have the event that you want to organize, please apply for the grant. You know about the grant, eh? Kan dia bagi 500,000 or 1 million. So hopefully lah, you can apply lah. Kita universiti tak boleh apply, you boleh apply lah. Okay, from over tourism to sustainable tourism. And just now I mentioned the word revenge tourism. Remember last year or year before last year, WTO mentioned the word revenge tourism. So when we reopen the border, we know that they will go out and spend lavishly. They will go to many destinations, and suddenly they changed it to become slow tourism. Right? Why? Because of we need to instill the responsibility. We want to change the way people do, people behave, pre-COVID level. Okay, what is slow tourism? I bet all of you know about it. Immersive and connected. So it comprises of people, place, and nature. 3 things. I would come up with this. This is my suggestion lah, for you to remember, easily remember this. This E. Number 1, experience. So experience with the food, with the entertainment, people, community, and culture. And I bold the word community is really important. Experience with the community. So when you plan for the products, make sure community is on top of the decision making. And then emotion, reason for traveling, and memory. So they want to gather, not together the fridge magnet, they want to gather the memory, right? So through this immersive and connected experience. And education. Know more about culture and history. Storytelling. The information, the material must be there. They don't have to seek about it. You will offer for them. We will offer for them. We will offer for travelers. When you arrive to KLIA, then you know what Malaysia is all about. What culture we have, what food we have, what food that you have to try. And then, environment, responsible behavior. And finally, elaborated. So meaning, sharing in social network and feel proud. They will become our ambassador, they will become our spokesperson, and they will convince other people to travel to Malaysia. We don't have to do lots of promotional activities because it has been done by our travelers. So we want to have that kind of experience, this slow tourism model. So maybe we can rename it like Thailand. What is the name that Thailand mentioned just now? Organic tourism, right? So we can also coin our tourism activities, but by looking into this idea, slow tourism. And then anti-consumerism concept. So this one actually, the anti-consumerism concept ni dah ada like from before century, not BC, before century. Now we use BC as before COVID. Before this, BC, before century, before COVID now. Okay, and then Kotler popularized this, the rise of anti-consumerism, very recent, 2019. And then, what is this? Because in consumerism, what we know, what we want to give to the consumer is that we know that wants are natural and infinite. We thought that people love to buy, love to go to the shopping spree. And then we want to encourage unlimited consumption of goods, and because it is good for the business, right? And then the planet's resources are infinite. The Earth's carrying capacity for waste and pollution is infinite. And the quality of life and personal happiness become higher as they consume more goods and services. So that's what we thought, okay? But we have to change that. Maybe we can take the lead in this. Okay, for example, I give you one video of this.
Most of us live in a culture built on wanting things, an entire system that is based on consuming.
We've all been raised on television to believe that one day we'd all be millionaires and movie gods and rock stars. But we won't.
Humans now own more than they have ever owned. Instead of buying what we need, consumerism has us wanting anything and everything we can get our hands on. The key to this is advertising.
Advertising has us chasing cars and clothes, working jobs we hate, so we buy shit we don't need.
Advertising creates a demand for products, and those products are sold for a profit. And that profit gives people more disposable income to spend.
Advertising is based on one thing: happiness.
Research shows that although we own more things now than we have in the past, people don't feel any happier than they previously have. This has been reflected in rising rates of depression and anxiety.
The things you own end up owning you.
And at the center of the cycle is capitalism. Some define capitalism as a political and economic system organized around making money.
Let me tell you something. There is no nobility in poverty. I have been a rich man and I have been a poor man, and I choose rich every fucking time.
So institutions and businesses are structured around the need to make money.
The point is, ladies and gentlemen, that greed, for lack of a better word, is good. Greed is right.
Companies create a demand for products to increase profits and make money. Consumers buy those products, fueling a cycle of demand and profit.
I bought it 10 years ago for $60,000. I could sell it today for $600. The illusion has become real. And the more real it becomes, the more desperate they want it. Capitalism at its finest.
But what does this mean for us? All of this consuming has resulted in mountains of garbage. Fast fashion, for example, contributes to huge amounts of waste, with consumers encouraged to see clothes as single-use items. When it comes to technology and gadgets, companies also add small updates to their products, promoting yearly purchases. Then there's plastic. Each year, the world produces nearly 340 million tons of plastic in the name of supplying cheap materials for consumption, and half of it is single-use, with plastic not able to be broken down or recycled, all in the name of consumerism and demand.
We are consumers. We are byproducts of a lifestyle obsession. Murder, crime, poverty, these things don't concern me. What concerns me are celebrity magazines, television with 500 channels, some guy's name on my underwear.
On yearly basis, right? And then the Earth's resources are finite and fragile. That's what happened now, like mentioned by Prof. Ansari just now. So we are underworld, right? And then the Earth's carrying capacity for waste and pollution is very limited. And the quality of life, it does not necessarily increase when we buy a new product. So that's important, the most important idea. So meaning, we have to blend all of them together to make our new DNA, hospitality DNA in Malaysia. And finally, the silver economy. So now the world is aging. This is the final idea that I would like to share with all of you about the silver economy. So that's why the demographic change is not only to Europe, but also to many parts of the world, where baby boomers, Generation X aging. So meaning they are more than above 50 years of age. And active aging is good health, allows people to travel. They spend more money, and then they seek for medical treatment abroad. Not like us, not like people in the Generation X age. And then this one I think I don't want to share because of timing. And then China is also aging country. And you can see here, the market size of the silver economy in China is increasing. So when just now we mentioned about we want to attract people from China, we want to attract silver segment from China. That will be the new ideas. Why? Because they spend more money, they go get the treatment in Malaysia, they buy more products from Malaysia, and they spend responsibly. Okay, and here, for example, one final thing. So this, when you want to analyze, you can come up with your own, analysis. So do you have this kind of analysis? Sorry, this is very small. Okay, actually, this is something that I can share with you. You need to analyze customer behavioral based on your sales input. You need to have your own database. You need to analyze it. Okay, for example, this one, maybe, why is very small? Okay, let me try to increase a little bit. This one I prepare for you guys. You won't get this from other. Oh, tak boleh tolong. Tekan apa? So, tak apa. Actually, this one, sometimes what you can do is, for example, you need to profile your customer. For example, you start from needs requirement. So you need not only to identify the the dimension of your analysis of profiling, but also need to come up with a rubric. For example, this one needs a requirement. Can you come up with a rubric of 5 to 1, scale of 5 to 1 or 1 to 5, from least important to strongly important? And then from anticipation, so meaning expectation or anticipation, no, low, moderate, high, very high. For example, affordability, and then timeline of purchase. So you have to come up. This one, what I suggest is the pre-purchase, and then the consumption activities, and then the post-purchase behavior. And you need to not only to come up with the dimension here, but also to come up with the rubric, how you give rating. For example, rating for affordability, very low, low, moderate, high, very high. And then for timeline of purchase, 5 immediate, 4 within 2 months, 3 within 6 months, within a year, unspecified. And then for standardization or customization, 5 for highly personalized, customized, standardized, don't mind. So meaning, and then appealing to online advertisement, 5 very high, moderate, low, and no. And move on to consumption, the quality level, very low. They didn't really look into the quality. And then for share or tag in the social media, unlikely, seldom, occasion, likely, very likely. So meaning, what I would suggest to you, you must use all the data that you collected from your customer, and you analyzed it to make it meaningful to you for your future decision making. And then post-purchase behavior. At the end of the day, the most important thing here is that it will give you the score. For example, score here. From 1 people, you know that the score here, for example, for this one, this exercise, we give the score for this 74.5%. So you know that maybe this can we convert this type of segment or demographic profile to become buyer in the future. So when you need to come up with average. So the analysis. So this is important, and sometimes we don't have the data. So you can come up with this later. Okay, and then, last one, sorry, I know the time is already up for me. Okay, just last one. Okay, and then measuring satisfaction. Okay, satisfaction derived from outcome values over number of response. The basic what do you call it, formula. So that's why the score, you need to understand what is the the number of rating that you get from the customer, and then you divide by the total number of response. Then you know. For example, like this. Let's say the outcome value here, when you have this one, customer 1 until customer 20. So they give the score for the products 5, 4, 4, 3, whatever. 5 satisfied, 2, 1 dissatisfied. And then the total, when you divide, becomes 74%. So you know the threshold. People only satisfied 74% with our product and services. So you can put value to the products. So you must have that kind of analysis. And from there, what you can do is that, so you can explore more. So from the 20 people, only 13 or 65% score more than 4, meaning they are satisfied. And then 7 score less than 3. So meaning 35% from the people who buy the product today, dissatisfied of the product. And how many complaints that you receive from customers. You need to tabulate that, And then from there, what can we do? So next action, measure the loyalty. From the score just now, we have to follow them. So this type of demographic profile, so are they loyal to us? Will they, at least recommend the product to other people? And then for the dissatisfied product, can we take corrective action? For the complaint, how can we entertain that? If worst come to us, what you can do is to provide compensation to them. So this type of exercise, I think, something that we are lacking. So meaning in the future you can start thinking of. So I think that's all for myself. Sorry, it's very lengthy. So hopefully you can get something out of this. And I know the time is very limited, very short. For us to instill all of the ideas to all of you. So feel free that is my email address. If you want to have further communication or we want to conduct detailed training from this, then we can discuss. Or you can talk to Dr. Sri, because he is the mastermind of this. Okay, so that's all from me. Thank you for listening. Yes, please. Okay, please. Yes, sure. Yes. Analyze the data. Yeah, actually, it's really important. Like what you mentioned just now, psychographic is one of the, the basic foundation of the analysis and also the strategy. Is in any marketing activities, we start off with psychographic, or we call it segmentation based on psychographic. So the product is meant for which segment. Just now I mentioned maybe we can look into silver economy, right? Maybe like your product is not suitable for them. You need to capture on different psychographic. You need to understand them. You need to know what kind of advertisement that entices them, that appeal to them. So that's why sometimes we cannot just have one size, fits all, right? So that kind of thing. I think if you have the data, please analyze it. So it's really important, not only to collect the data, analyze the data, and also to use the data for future analysis, for future decision making. Sometimes the data only, we collect the data, but we don't really use it for meaningful, strategies or action. Yeah, this is a great, when you have this kind of tools, then maybe analyze it. anymore? Maybe if you want to have open, because we should have open discussion. So if you have any other inputs that you want to share with us, feel free. So now is the best time lah. So saya tanya lagi satu soalan, ada buat tak apa-apa macam using the data for assisting the decision making? Atau ada tak apa-apa new strategy this future in the future for post COVID-19 ni using a new tool? Ada tak? Ataupun status quo lah, like I mentioned, we just use status quo lah, whatever that we have done. Because you remember, people always talk about business unusual, right? That's the idea of post COVID-19, business unusual. But not all of the operational activities can be business unusual. Only selected activities can be business unusual, the rest business as usual. Remember that. So people, fall to the wrong ideas. Remember that thing. You cannot just simply, okay, after COVID-19, we must do business unusual activities. No. Only selected activities can be done as unusual. The rest, we can say, as I mentioned earlier, status quo or business as usual. Okay, so I think semua orang mungkin dah cram dengan macam-macam input. So hopefully this seminar workshop will give you a new what do you call it, ideas and how to move forward, and because we want to see a new outlook of tourism in Malaysia, especially starting from this April 1st, and hopefully we will have more interaction in the future. With that, I thank you. Thanks for listening.